Yo, what's up guys? A new tier list video, season 25. Actually a lot earlier in the season than normally, because normally in the season I do it mostly towards the end of the season, which is also pretty close to the balance patch. But in this case I wanted to do it right around the time of SWC. We have seen few prelims already, we will have a bunch of more prelims later. And for that reason I was just like, yo, why not, let's just make another tier list, because we actually have a pretty interesting meta right now, and I would say we have the most diverse meta ever. Because there pretty much is the most amount of units being picked in SWC so far. It's not just one picks Oliver, the other one always goes for more Marcia, and those are the first three units always on the field unless there's some heavy LD kind of stuff going on. No, there's actually a lot of stuff going on. So for that reason, this is going to be a very interesting tier list, but also I think the most difficult tier list and probably the longest tier list I have made. So keep those things in mind. However, just a quick explanation about the tier list. Tier list is my opinion, or at least this tier list is my opinion. You do not have to agree. I don't say that, hey, if I put a unit at 100, it is 100. No, that's just my opinion to put it at 100. Also a question I sometimes still get, but I think you kind of got used to it, why the numbers of like 100, 95, 90 all the way to like 55 and the meme tier. Why not just use double S, triple S, that kind of stuff. That is because with this I can put a tier in between, because I can make a tier in between saying, for example, if we add a row above and or the row below and we kind of at 92.5. That gives me more flexibility in the tier list rather than saying like S.5 or whatever. So for that reason, I like to use these numbers, and for me, it makes more sense, and that's just simple like that. I will be calling out all of the units and their specific tiers, so you can listen to this as a podcast if you would like to. And I'm going to go over the units in the same order as I did in previous tier lists, because I used this list before. I just extended it with a bunch of the extra units that are in meta right now and used right now. I will try to include everything that's at least used once in SWC, and afterwards I will go for, let's say, 1.5% pick rate and up. So those two factors are to keep in mind. If your unit is not on the tier list, let's say you're asking for, where's my Zyros on the RTA tier list? Also keep in mind this is G3 RTA tier list. So where is my Zyros in the RTA tier list? Well, it's not picked that much in G3, and therefore I don't have to include it. Also keep in mind that this is G3. That doesn't mean that something cannot be used in like Conqueror ranks or even in other Guardian ranks or in Fighter ranks. Like for example, you can definitely have good results with the Perna, even though I will not include it on the list because it's just not an RTA unit in the higher tiers. So with those things all in mind, I think I'm just going to get started with the tier list, and yeah, we'll just see how it goes from there. I do expect this one to be pretty lengthy, so let's just get it going. So for the first of the units, I see a Bernard not used. Delphoy, I don't think is used too much. Don't even want to check it in all honesty. I think the first one to be put in is Ikasha. And Ikasha is for me always a weird unit. I see some people use it quite some. Personally, I never really liked it that much. And the main reason I don't like it that much is because you need quite some room quality to actually make it one-shot. And if it doesn't do the one-shot, it's worth pretty much nothing. So she's actually below the range of where I have to put her in, because pretty much no one uses her. And the few that use her actually don't have that good results in G3. She has a high ban rate though, but that's all I can say about that much. I don't think that one of the two succubuses should be in as well, but we can have a quick look at Sion. I don't expect Sion to be in either, mainly because ever since Oliver, he's just not been that usable. Like there's other units as a 5th pick slot that are more contending than him, and he's just hard to fit with all of those pushback units and all of that kind of good stuff. So I think the first unit that will actually be in will be the Susanoo, maybe Susanoo even, because I'm not even sure if Susanoo is going to be picked that much. I think it might even be picked less. It is actually picked less than that. It is a unit I personally like, but if it's not that high, like for me personally, I would easily put it like somewhere 75, 80 rank in, or well, let's say 70 in like specific matches. You can be pretty good, but he's not going to be used as much for other people, so I'm just not going to put it in for there. Is Suiki? Suiki is... I think I did put Suiki in this list. Yeah, I put it in the list, but he's going to be all the way later. So the first unit that's actually on the list is going to be the Han, which is always, I would say, the first few units are always pretty hard to place. And that is also because it's a relative tier list. It's not necessarily like A is the best unit, or like 100 is the best unit. 100 is just better than 95, and 95 is better than 90. So it's very much a relative thing, and where do you put the first unit in a relative thing where you cannot compare it to something else, right? But let's look at the win rates. We're looking at 50.74 for Han, and in the 44, 50.38. Oh wait, that is in... Okay, we do see a big difference in Guardian 1 to Guardian 3. Guardian 3, you do see that the rune quality is a lot better, and therefore the Han is a lot better. Han definitely is one of those units, needs good runes. When he has those good runes, he becomes that 53 kind of stuff. So he's actually pretty solid. So I think I might actually put him on 90. I might lower him down later. But the reason that he's a 90 for me, he has pretty high win rate. He has a pretty decent ban rate. But Han, technically, if you calculate the multiplier of Han, including the armor break that he self-provides, he has the strongest multiplier on single target damage, which I include S3 going into S2 armor breaking the whole way through. That is by far, like, sure, he needs the strip setup and like a bunch of other things, and he needs the protection and whatnot, but solely single target damage, I think there's not a single unit that has a higher damage output with the cycling that can out damage a Han in the same situation. So therefore he is a pretty high rank, but needs that good rune quality. Then we go on for Camilla. Camilla has been recently used a lot more. I'm not sure if in the previous tier list she already had the buff where her skill 2 became a 2-turn cooldown, which technically can keep the freeze or the slow up permanently, and the freeze up every other turn, which is pretty strong. Decent healer as well. Still has the issues that she's not that great into an Oliver, so pushbacks and all of that kind of stuff. So for that reason, but still pretty good win rate actually. So let's see. I think Camilla at 80. I think I'm going to place it first at 80, maybe even 85. I think Camilla goes for 85 at first. Might be lower down a little bit later down the line, but I do feel like Camilla has pretty high value. It's more towards like one of the later picks, like a pick on the 4 slot, 5 slot. But I have seen some people go for Nissa into Camilla and just go straight up for that combination of armor break plus strip into Camilla heavy damage, which is pretty nice damage in general. So Camilla goes 85 for now, might be lowered later. Second one that we go for is Vanessa. Vanessa is a little bit lower on the win rate. It's a 48.29, but it is picked almost double. It's also banned a decent amount, and I think she's somewhat overused to the sense where I say she's often used like, hey, I have to speed contest. Oliver is on the enemy side already. I need a speed lead 33 to compete, and I think that's dropping her win rate. It is not bad to pick her in that scenario, but I think because of that, she's more often picked in a team where she doesn't fit against a team that she doesn't fit, rather than her win rate being below 50% herself. So for that reason, I do feel like that she's maybe spammed a little bit too much, or just used in those scenarios where you might say like, okay, might as well just drop on at theirs because I have no clue how I'm going to win right now, but I need the luck of the draw. I think she's used a little bit in that, and for that reason dropping her win rate a little bit. But I do give her high value, and I would give her to 80. Because especially she needs some good runes if you want to make her Vayu, but if you make her Swift, she's pretty easy to move in front of like a Han, or in front of like a Narsha, or in front of like a Masha, or in front of like a Barbara. Like all of those units with that strip armor break have pretty high value to do single target damage, and that's where I think she fits a lot more. Let's go for... Wait, do we have more in the Valkyrie family, which is the Acroma. And Acroma is specifically used by a few people. It is just above the 2% win rate. I think it's one of those people that are mainly using it are those heavy turn 2 comps. Of course, we all know Liberty does very well with this unit. This unit does need pretty good rune quality to shine. It cannot really be spammed in everything. You kind of have the issue with additional damage artifacts, because if you just have like, let's say 2 Robos and a CP moving and they all go for the AoE skills, your Acroma most likely is kind of close to that already. So for that reason, it is hard to fit him in. Like the win rate does show that a good, well-placed Acroma has a very high win rate, has a decent ban rate, but it's somewhat hard to fit Acroma in, and therefore I'm just gonna give Acroma 70. Or do I feel 75 for it? The win rate is pretty high. But then again, 2% pick rate. I'm going to make it 75 because 54 is actually pretty high. Let's see how it does in Conqueror. Yeah, it's one of those units, once again, you do need like insane bruiser runes on it to actually make the unit shine. So this unit does really need good, efficient runes. But on the other hand, if you did farm a lot and you put good runes to it, those are runes you're not gonna use anywhere else. So technically for a higher end player, she is easier to rune than many other units. Let's move on to Clara. I'm not sure if Clara is used to a certain extent where you can say like it's used enough. No, it's not really used enough at all. It's not even close to the 2% pick rate, so, or 1.5, what did I say? I don't remember. Next one is Eshir. And Eshir is the second most picked light unit at the moment, or the second most popular light unit. Let's see, we have a 49% win rate, on a 6.5% pick rate, which is not bad, pretty high ban value as well. I think the unit is pretty strong. I think the main mistake that some people make with it is just go absolutely no damage on him. Because Eshir is actually, if you have that good slot 4 in crit rate or crit damage only if you have enough crit rate, or high additional damage artifacts, he becomes pretty deadly by just doing enough damage rather than just being the speed buffer in there. So I would say Eshir is pretty nice in general. Pick rate is 6.5 or like 6.5. That is not that much, but I do feel that Eshir can have quite some potential in, not necessarily that we have a super heavy speed meta, because I feel like turn 1 is as strong as turn 2 at the moment, but I do feel like he fits pretty well. It's just like, did you rune him up and did you actually value good runes to him? That is the biggest factor to where Eshir does shine or doesn't shine. Combining like, okay, what other units do you have runed up, what is important to you, and that kind of stuff. So Eshir is a 75 for me. Let's go on to Vedjat. And Vedjat definitely started shining because of one unit that is very busted right now, and we're gonna get to later. But Vedjat is a 53 win rate right now, which goes to 55.7 in the 4v4, which is actually insane. That's like by far the highest we've ever seen for Vedjat. But what is Vedjat good with? If we check the Dream Team, I expected more Wedjats near. Well, these numbers don't really show everything because this could literally be 10 matches and then 1 loss, 9 won, so that's not too great. But this unit is exceptionally good with Wedjat, of course. So for that reason, I do give it a value a little bit higher than I would normally, but to be honest, I'm not gonna take this number like clearly, because this unit only does shine if you pair it with currently probably the best unit in the game. So for Red is by all means, I would say with a Wedjat probably somewhere up here, up there. Well, probably up here, up there. Without, it's probably there. So I'm gonna average it at, let's say 70-ish, because it has that threshold of like, you need that Wedjat to make it work. So I'm gonna put it on 70. Going next with a Chimera. Chimera is pretty often used, not the greatest of win rate. We do see a lot of Chimera in combination with Shizuka. Shizuka's pretty hard nerfed on pretty much every skill so far, which, yeah, that's an interesting take. But Chimera also for that reason took a little bit of hits in his win rate. I do feel like Chimera can be pretty decent, but to be honest, he has to be paired with the right thing to actually make it work. But still, even though his win rate is 47.21, pick rate is at 13.8, I do value him at 75. So he has quite a bit lower win rate than the other units that are next to him, but I do value him at a 75 still. Next to that, we have the... wait, do we have more dragons? We have Sarath. I don't think Sarath is even used that much that I have to place it in, but let's give it a quick peek. Nope, far below 1%, or not far below, it's just below 1%. It can be used here and there as a cleave unit, but it's more a fun unit rather than actually like a good unit that people will start using a lot, I would say. Going on to the vampires. Verdahile, everyone's most annoying unit and everyone's unit that everyone ever zoomed up. Interestingly enough, in the pick and ban, he's 50% win rate with 18 pick, but the moment you go for the 4v4, his win rate goes up by 1.5%. So definitely let through in the match where you don't ban Verdahile. Verdahile becomes a very dangerous unit throughout. Verdahile goes straight to 80 for me. I'm actually gonna say 85 because his pick rate is that high, ban rate is that high. He is pretty much a coin flip, but that's just the The only actual coin flip build is Triple Revenge, which is the most common build, that is true. But you can also build him Fire Revenge, you can also build him Swift, you can also build him Nemesis, you can... Any build on Vertihiles is kind of meta and is kind of viable. So you can legitimately have 3 Vertihiles in your box, all ruined at like 1 at Swift, 1 at Triple Revenge, 1 at Fire Revenge is a Leo counter. There's just so much versatility to this unit, and he will probably do pretty well. Only issue is what makes him slightly worse at the moment is that because of the Despair buff, I call it a buff, the glancing part doesn't care and he can get stunned by, for example, a CP, which gets more popular to be on Despair because of that exact reason as well. So those kind of things, that and glancing kind of do screw up Vert. Technically, it's semi-countered by a Chiwu that also glances on the skill 3 right now. However, I do still feel that Vertihile has pretty high impact, and I will go 85 for him. So let's see what else we have. Let's first go for Cadiz Nuts, which not that many people are using. I think it's a pretty interesting unit, but it's also somewhat of a hard unit to fit in from time to time. And he might be below 1% pick rate. He's actually far below 1% pick rate with a 38% win rate. Yikes, that's a pretty bad unit actually. Wow, interesting. Did not expect it to be that bad. In G1 he has better success, but, well, we're looking G3 at the moment, and people in G3 know how to deal with it. Unit that people know and struggle a little bit more to deal with is Julian. And Julian is actually pretty good, and this is one of those units we see as well, mostly picked in the 4th or 5th slot. I think he fits best there. We have a win rate on Julian for 50.72. In the 4v4 it actually goes up by 0.07, 0.08 kind of percent. He is banned like 27% of the time, so he's definitely one of those last big units that are like, ooh, I definitely have to be careful with this one, I have to ban it. Because he's just so deadly. Like, I called Han one of the best single target damage dealers in the game. I called Julian the best single target damage dealer in the game that can cleanse itself, that can have self-protection. That is very difficult to get rid of. Sure, I think down the line his win rate will drop a little bit more, because people can figure out like, hey, you can just dish out a shit ton of damage into Julian and kill the whole team that way. You do have to have good single target damage to actually do that. And I'm pretty curious to see if there's actually going to be someone that Super 5-head has the craziest Nemesis runes ever, and it's going to throw Julian on triple Nemesis to counter exactly the counter of Julian. Because if you tumble a shit ton of damage into Julian because he's armor broken, but Julian is triple Nemesis, he's gonna take that turn. Like, no worries, he's definitely gonna take that turn. So, of course, the Vio value is pretty high because the S2 is the heavy damage, the S1 is kind of okay-ish damage, but I would like to see people go for that kind of style with the Julian or triple Nemesis. It's also, of course, your Vio runes are better than your triple Nemesis potential, but will be an interesting take, but Julian for me goes on 90. Going next with the Chimeras. First of all, let's see where Lachmaron is at. I saw Lachmaron being used in SWC once. His pick rate is very low, but since he's used at least once in SWC, I will place him in, but I do think Lachmaron is not that great. Like, by all means, if you want to rune up a unit like Lachmaron, rune up a Theor. Because it's just so much more of a water heavy meta on supports that you might want to like destroy, or like, no wait, it's so much more of a fire heavy meta with the Racuni, with a Juno, with a like all of that kind of good stuff that Lachmaron doesn't really fit. Like, sure, he fits to use that S2 and kill something, but his S3 doesn't fit. Sure, he has better base stats in the speed than Theor has, but Theor's overall kit just fits more with like the buff to the S3 as well. So if you want to rune anything like this, might as well just put it towards a Theor. But let's look at Theor. So I have Lachmaron at 60. Yeah, I think 60 is fair. Like, it's not the worst unit, but I don't think he's worth the rune kind of unit. Theor. Theor is actually, wow, the win rate of Theor is pretty low. Interesting. Maybe I have, well, funny enough, Theor ban rate is super high, but Theor is 100% 5th pick unit. And I guess if it's let through, people can actually deal with it. So for that reason, it is just above the 1.5% pick rate. Apparently it's quite a bit lower than I expected. So I guess this does need some crazy runes to make it shine. Mine actually does pretty well. I think it's actually one of my better units I picked up recently that does very well, mainly against Junos, Racunis, all of that kind of good stuff. He kind of destroys them all pretty hard. But also 90%, 95% of the time he's banned because he's picked in a specific draft where that is pretty much what people think my only counter to fire units, and then I still kind of try to destroy the fire units otherwise. But yeah, the win rate is 48.5, but in the 4v4 it's 46.5. So I would say Theor, I'm somewhat win rate biased, pick rate biased. Ben is quite high, but for that reason I felt he would be more of like a 75. Now 75 by max. But no, I'm actually going to place him. No, I'm going to place him 75. No, I'm going to place him 70. Pick rate not that high, win rate not that high. I'm going to place him 70. A little bit statistic bias rather than like own feeling bias. Because for me, he's definitely a 75. But I think for the general population, he's probably better fitting at a 70. Let's see if Racon is in, but I highly doubt it. I don't think people use that much Racon at all. 0-10% with a 30% win rate. What does 4v4 mean? That means everything that happens after the ban. So the 4 units that are in the actual match rather than the 5 units that are the one including the banned one. So that's the difference between the 4v4 and the not 4v4. Let's call it that way. Well, we don't have to look at a Racon, but we definitely do have to look at a Jean, which is one of the best units in the game right now. Holy shit. So Jean is looking at a 55.8% win rate without like being banned. The ban rate is 26 as well. Pick rate is 7.14. But in the 4v4 he goes up to a 57.5. Wow, that's like the moment he's in the match, he's contributing very hard. That's legitimately one of the highest, if not, I think it's one of the highest win rates in the 4v4 if we look at a pick rate of, yeah, that's, wow, that's a very high, very, very, very high win rate. Insane. So yeah, Sean definitely deserves a 95 for me at the moment, because that's, I have placed more units way above that didn't have that crazy win rate. The pick rate is maybe somewhat on the lower-ish side. We see some other units that are definitely higher up there, and we probably have to make some different tiers, but yeah, that's a 95 is definitely fitting for this unit. I also feel like the most people that have Sean make him feel pretty spammable, and that's a high factor to a unit being good as well. So I feel like he's even higher than this. Like, I'm not gonna lie already, because I kind of know what's coming. I think I definitely will need these tiers. And I'm just gonna place it in already, because I feel like that this is already... I feel like we're gonna have a lot of units at the top in this one. Because I feel like Sean, he's not 100. He's not that spammable to be 100. But his win rate and his ban rate potential show that he's a 97.5 for me already. Okay, after that, what unit do we have next? Zeratul. Can have a quick peek at him, but I don't think he's used enough to where we say that we want to place him. Zeratul. Yeah, 008. Yep, definitely not going to be placed in. We have a bunch of birds. I don't think any of those is actually used. I don't have to place any of them in. We go next to the Archangels. Let's see if Valkyrja is even. Valkyrja. Why is he even that good? He's very good because of the skill 3 is the speed boost and a stunner AoE. High rates of landing it, but he doesn't actually touch the units, which is pretty nice in general. So for that reason, and plus the S2 just does an insane damage and ignores glancing and all of that kind of Gucci stuff. Valkyrja actually has a high win rate. Wow, wait. Is that one of those units that maybe works because he is good paired with a Wedjat? I'm not sure. I am not sure. Let's see if we see the dream team with him. Do we see? Yeah, we do see some Wedjats in here. Like, these numbers are kind of bad because this is probably just one match and it then shows up here. But I think he's kind of boosted on win rate because of Wedjat potential. Because Wedjat Valkyrja potential is pretty decent, I would say. But Valkyrja kind of struggles with the low base speed. So, by all means, I think that Valkyrja, he probably deserves like, I'm gonna put it at 70, which is just like, once again, the same thing as Varette. He's good, but you have to pair him with a... Let's put him 65 because he's even used less than this. But with a Wedjat, he's probably somewhere up there. Without, he's just there. So I'm just gonna put him there. Let's see. Well, did I place Fermion in here? Lol, that's never gonna be placed, that's for sure, in RTA. But we do have Artemil. And I still feel like a good, well-placed Artemil in the 5th slot is very good. But most of the time, Artemil is not really placed that well in a good position, and therefore Artemil doesn't really do all too well at the moment. I still believe that if you build an Artemil on high damage as a Leo counter, Artemil will definitely do very well for you. So, but that is my biased belief. I am going to put Artemil for 65 at Arena soon, because it's just a hard Leo counter or a very specific team counter. And Artemil doesn't have to be paired with anything specifically, I would say. Let's go next for the Oracle family. Oracle family first, and then we go for the other one. So Oracle family first, we first look at a Praha. Praha has a pretty close to 50% win rate, 9.6 on the pick rate. In the 4v4 actually goes up to a 51. Definitely not a bad unit. Overall, ever since her buff, where her S3 Daydream gets a speed buff, she has been pretty decent to doing good. And I would say that it would be an 85 for me. Praha's just overall very solid as a unit. Next to that, we have the Juno. And Juno is arguably the strongest normal elemental unit. And I did mention that before. We have a 34% pick rate, which is picked 1 in 3 matches. Ban rate is pretty decent. But if we look at the 4v4, if it's actually led through in the match, it's a 51.86 on the win rate, which is insanely high. And for me, Juno is at least a 90. Might even be 92.5. I don't think she fits... Would she fit 95? I am not 100% sure. Like, her statistics kind of signal... Yeah, kind of in between. I'm gonna make an in-betweener tier because I do know that there's a lot of units going to be... Wait, the other in-between. This one, row below. Is she better than Han and Julian though? I think so. I think so. She has more usability. Like, these units, they kind of need to have like a specific draft, a specific comp, a specific everything. Juno, you can pretty much slap into freaking anything. Like, all Juno needs is good runes, good artifacts. But then you can slap her into pretty much everything. So that is definitely a unit that I think has very high value at the moment and deserves that 92.5 for me. We're gonna have a very interesting tier list right now. If I'm already putting like in between the tiers, that's just my prediction of how the tier list will look like, I guess. Let's see what we have next. Next is Sierra, and to be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised if Sierra is below 1.5% pick rate at the moment. Sierra actually has a 3.27% pick rate, but is a 47 point something in the win in the 4v4 and a 48 outside of the 4v4, which just means that she's there for the speed lead but doesn't really contribute that well, shouldn't really be used. 65 for Sierra for me, like I can't make it any better than that. Sierra definitely deserves like a buff, I would say. She was hardest hit by the nerf. Well, no, technically Gianna and Sierra were hardest hit. But Gianna came from a higher ranking already and then dropped down a bit. Sierra came from mid tier and then dropped down to low tier. So that is definitely what's happening. Next unit up there is Lima, which I just looked at a little bit before. And I think Lima win rate is pretty hard boosted because of Wedjat. So Lima win rate is a 52.74. In the 4v4, it's actually going up by a whole percent, so 53.74. Pick rate is 5.5. But her hardest counter and the thing she struggles with most is actually playing into Junos and Prahas because they provide everything to like a TOA hell session pretty much. Everything becomes dots. However, if you have that Wedjat next to it, Wedjat starts healing based off all of that. So you don't give a shit about it. So I think this unit is highly buffed because of Wedjat, but still pretty solid unit throughout. But I would personally say that she's on the same level as Praha. Because Praha feels more pickable into many situations, But Lima might be more pickable if you have the specific comfort, if you have the specific units to it. And arguably, which I'm not 100% sure yet about, is that Lima might be a decent counter into Wedjat. And that's mainly because you make every buff into a slow. So it's not that you give too many debuffs to the Wedjat, but still you strip everything. And you slow him so there's less cycling. So technically, arguably, Lima could be a good counter into Wedjat as well. But I'll give her 85 for now. Let's see, the next one is Gianna. And Gianna is actually one of the units that got one of the most hits in pretty much, let's say, the whole balance. Or let's say the whole meta. Because Gianna used to be like 52, 53, 54 win rate. Gianna's looking at a 48.51. Which is pretty interesting, and the 4v4 or not the 4v4 kind of stays the same. I'm pretty sure in lower ranks she will do better than that. But in G3 ranks, people are really used to her. Heigang is very hard countering her. Robos outspeed her, counter her. Being non-will counters her. Chiwo outspeeds her, counters her. More outspeeds her, counters her. Being on 100 base speed is technically one of the worst speeds you can be at for any stripper. Especially if you keep in mind that speeds from Swift are rounded up. So the moment you are 51, you get 26 speed from your Swift as base. Whereas a 100 unit gets just the 25. So that's definitely something to keep in mind where, yeah, she kind of fits the Swift role, but she kind of also doesn't. And then she kind of fits the Vio role, but then she easily gets outsped and that kind of stuff. So yes, she's pretty good into bruisers. But the issue is the current bruisers are all Ranukis. She's not great into Ranuki as well. So for that reason, Gianna actually took quite a bunch of hits. And I've always put Gianna's around like 95, 90. Pretty much, I think she was always between like 97.5 to 92.5. But to be honest, I currently feel her at 80. In all honesty. Because a lot of matches, I kind of overspam her because she's good rune quality for me. But I did talk to a lot of G3 players and they legitimately said I started climbing ranks from using less Gianna. And I do think that's a very fair factor. I do think her win rate would go up a little bit if she's been picked less, but 13.40 is already quite a bunch less than what it used to be, because I think we have seen it being at like 25, 30, no, I would say like 25, like 20 to 25%. So yeah, Gianna's actually at 80 for me, which is arguably one of the lowest ranks I've ever seen her at. Probably people are gonna be like, how can you put Gianna on the same tier as Vanessa? Well, different use cases, but for usability, I think it's pretty much that. I do think, well actually, funny enough, if we look at this, like, for the people, because I'm definitely gonna get the argument why is Vanessa next to it. We're looking at same pick rate, same win rate, so hey, I'm not totally wrong about that. Like, statistically wise, I'm not totally wrong about that. Just keep that as an argument. So yeah, we have all of those oracles in. Let's go on to the OGs. And it's actually sad to put Gianna at a low spot. Like, well, to be honest, it's a fun fact that people are always saying, like, don't put my unit at the highest tier because it will be nerfed. I do not have the power to nerf things. This tier list doesn't have the power to nerf things. I just point out the obvious, and the obvious is gonna get nerfed. So whatever I put at 100 is obviously OP, and therefore probably gets nerfed. So yeah, it's just more pointing out the obvious rather than me having any power over saying like what unit is OP. But let's see what. Wait, I forgot to place Wedjat. Where's Wedjat? Wedjat comes later, right? Wedjat is over here. Forget to. Oh, I'm allowed to place Wedjat. Oh no. Wedjat is gonna get placed. Don't worry. Don't worry. So we have Annabelle. Annabelle actually has a very high win rate, not that much of a pick rate, so once again pretty boosted by probably just a few people that use her a lot. And for that reason, I think, well, this is actually a super high win rate. I'm really curious, like, if this pick rate would go up to like 100 or like to 10%, her win rate would definitely drop, but would it drop that substantially where she becomes like more difficult to use? I don't know. We do see, so this is livered, this is livered, this is livered though. That part is a pretty big factor, huh? But this is not. So yeah, it's definitely livered boosted. It's also just livered. Wait, so if we can subtract how many matches, we have a total of 500 matches. And livered picked her for Fuck you, Lifford. You're ruining my data. You picked her for more than half of the freaking matches. Bias pick on that 55 without Lifford. She's probably like 51, 52 on the win rate or so. So I'm gonna give her 75 my best. Fuck you, Lifford, man. It's like 532 matches. And he picked her for 252. That's legitimately like 45% of all of her picks in G3, mate. So yeah, I think she's not bad, but she needs the specific comp, turn 2, and good runes to actually make her shine. So I'm gonna give her 75 on that. Let's go next. Rika. Rika's one of those units that you see quite a bunch less. It's more and more difficult to actually fit in a Rika because you have so much units that give like the cleansings, the Ronuki meta, but also just the increased cool times and all of that kind of good stuff that she becomes harder and harder to draft, but when she's drafted at a good position, she is very likely to win. So she still has the winning factor if she's drafted at the right position, and that just makes her 70 for me. Pretty easy pick over there. Now we're going into the OP units. The real OP units. Wait, we're actually first gonna go into the not that OP unit. Charlotte. Let's see where Charlotte is at the moment. Also, a late pick unit used to actually be around like 53-ish win rate, which is pretty interesting to see that her win rate is not that high. She used to be like 53 or 54, and just boosting her win rate by being a good last pick, but apparently she really doesn't have that value anymore, so I'm gonna put her actually around 65 for that reason, because I never really saw her value too much, but she was kind of the value because of, well, I'm actually gonna put her 70, because you can also put her Swift. You have some diversity in the runes that add some value to her. But then let's look at the OGs. OGs is best family in the game. Yes, I think Oracles in the past were best families in the game. But with the Laura buff and Gianna getting more and more hard counters, we are seeing that the OGs definitely overtake that. So let's see with Laura. Holy shit, man. This can't be real. We have a unit that's 58.13 win rate on a pick rate of 15.71. That is, I think, the highest I've ever seen. That is higher than I've ever seen Veronica on. That's higher than I've ever seen like Ragdoll on. That's pretty much higher than anything I've ever seen. In the 4v4, pretty much ups her win rate by 0.4 even. Wow. I want to see how good does she do in G1, because I do think she needs good runes to shine. And yeah, that actually does resemble by lower ranks doing a little bit worse with her. But wow, this is insane. And she goes straight to 100. Wait, where did I drop her? Where did she go? Laura goes straight to 100. There's absolutely no question about it. Anyone who will disagree can disagree. I'm not going to listen to that opinion. Laura is absolutely 100. Doesn't Sean need better runes than Laura? I disagree. Sean needs good runes, but Sean is technically relatively easy to rune because you don't need crit rate. And Laura just needs crazy fast specific runes. But let's see what we have for Nikki. I do know Nikki is very high on the win rate as well. I do think she's lower on the pick rate. She's less spammable. But we still see a 53 and a 55. So in the 4v4 55, she needs more of a specific comps. And the specific comp really makes Nikki shine. Without that specific comp, she does a little bit less. And Laura is the comp. Like, that's the big difference between those two. She is the comp. She's... wait, where the hell did Nikki go? Nikki is here. Nikki goes 95 for me. Maybe 97.5. She does have more pick... No, actually, she does go. She does go over here, right? She does go over here. Like, I think that's fair. That's... Yeah, she's just insanely good. She's better than Sean. I think she's same level as Sean. Nikki does need... What comp makes Nikki good? Like, double AoE strip Nikki and then some damage afterward. And Nikki already kills shit by herself. You don't even need damage after. But yeah, you definitely need good artifacts and good runes for all three of them to make it shine. But that's why we're looking at the G3 RTA tier list, SWC style tier list, rather than just a overall RTA tier list. But that unit definitely does shine. I want to see, going on to the next units, Hell Ladies, I want to see if Rocky actually starts being picked a bit, because it technically counters Julian. Well, if it does counter Julian, it does it in a horrible way. Below 50 win rates, holy shit. Or below 40 win rate, sorry. Next one up is... Wait, did I put Kraka? I did put Kraka over here, that's good. But next one up is Ethna. And Ethna is a very interesting unit. I think one of the most picked units out there right now. Very strong unit. Does need incredibly good runes to actually shine fully. But I think she's also somewhat overspammed. Like, you see the value of like, hey, I get outsped. Because I get outsped, I have to counter it in a certain way. But I do think, even though that her win rate is 48, she is definitely a 90 for me. Because she has that much potential in a good value set, but also so much potential in the 119 base. 119 base is insane. And her S2 just giving attack bar for 120%. That's insane. Yeah, I think people do overdraft, or people drop her in like, oh shit, I'm gonna get outsped. I'm gonna drop my fastest unit in there and just see what happens. Yeah, you're gonna drop the win rate on that. But she's definitely a 90 for me. Like, I'm not gonna look at win rate for this one. This is just based on like how I feel, how good the unit is. Definitely a 90 for me. Let's look at Asima. Asima. How often is that used? That's used to a decent extent. 1.4. Okay, that's not that much. It's kind of like Rika level, in all honesty. It's slightly better than Rika. But it's kind of Rika level, and still. So I'm actually gonna put her at 70, because you can only draft her when you can draft Rika, and which is almost never. Unless you have a very specific Asima one-shot comp, Asima can be good. But that makes Asima good in G1, right? Yeah, in G1 rank goes up. Conqueror probably rank goes even up more than that, right? That's very understandable. But the moment you're in G3, you cannot spam that kind of comp where Asima shines in. So Asima by all means not a bad unit, but in G3 RTA specifically, Asima does tend to fall off. Let's look at Karaka. Kraka is actually a higher win rate. Wow, 51. It's definitely not bad. She's not picked that much. But yeah, she's for sure not picked that much. But I do think that she has a pretty decent value to it. She is picked with like specific comps as well. But yeah, the issue is that she has kind of low activation rate. She has the low activation rate, which kind of makes me feel like, I'm not too sure. But in the end, the skill that makes Ethna as good as Ethna is on the same skill as Kraka. And that part is definitely still there. It's definitely more of a fit for this pair. The S3 kind of feels weird from time to time. That's kind of the thing that she... Like, if they bump up the activation rate on the S2, she already becomes very good. The S3 revives, I don't know. Like, the S3... kind of feels like it's not there. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, Kraka doesn't have an S3. Like, if it fits and it happens to work in the match, it's nice. But often, like, playing on revives is kind of a risky thing, because the only revives that we've ever seen good in the game are passive revives. So Nana was very good. Vanessa is very good. Why are they good? Because you don't have to waste a turn to revive. It's already there. Like, the moment it dies, it comes back instantly. And that makes things very nice. Whereas Kraka doesn't do that. So the S3 kind of needs a little bit more. But I think if you add... The same as like what happened to Wedjat. Wedjat was already decent-ish, but never really used that much. But you add this much and he becomes fucking OP. I think Kraka has the same potential. If you give Kraka like the revive becomes a passive, instantly everyone's gonna play Kraka and she's gonna be like 54-55% win rate. But yeah, that's what I think about Kraka. Let's see what we have next. We did see a Rigel play in SWC, so I am going to put Rigel in. However, we don't see too much Rigel generally on ladder at all. Where is unit even at? That's very much not picked. 6 times. 6 times picks. In all honesty, I've seen Rigel a lot in Special League. I do feel like Rigel often on paper feels like, yeah, Rigel's gonna take turns and then he's gonna hit and then he's gonna armor break and he's gonna freeze. Well, let me tell you what he doesn't do. He doesn't armor break and he doesn't freeze and he doesn't do fucking damage. So the unit is actually pretty fucking garbage. Like, if you want to pick it in a very, very specific match, he can be good. But 9 out of 10, he's just gonna sit there. He took 2 turns, he hit 2 times 3k and that end of the deal. He barely did jack shit. So Rigel, there's better options out there if you want some water counters than a Rigel. Personally, a Susano, since Susano's not played in SWC, I'm not going to put Susano in. But I definitely feel like I'm going to put Susano in. Susano's at least a 60 to a 65 for me. At least 60. Rigel's worse, trust me. It's just that you can stun this, technically you cannot stun that, but definitely Susano does so much more damage. If you talk about solo potential, Rigel is near to no solo potential. Susano I've seen solo like 3-4 units. Depending who he plays, of course, but let's call it that way. Next up is Antares, which we actually do see fewer and fewer in the meta, I would say. Like, it used to be more common that Antares was picked like towards like 5%, maybe even 10%. People were just spamming in Antares, like, oh, I'm not sure, like, just Antares. Well, the issue is, you're not gonna Antares a Shizuka. It's like, oh, I have crit rate buff, attack buff. Now everyone has crit rate buff, attack buff. That's definitely something you don't really like to see. But for that reason, Antares is a little bit less used. But for that reason also, Antares is a higher win rate. Because Antares is used more good than where he was before. Like, oh, I'm gonna lose the match. Jesus, take the wheel. We're gonna Antares this one. So I definitely do value a good placed Antares, while his win rate, is close to 50, like 49.5, and pick rate is 3, which definitely do not signal bad numbers, but I think it's kind of fair on level with like Rika, Asima, and Antares. If they fit, they do well. If not, just don't draft them. Now we go on for some Dragon Knights. Dragon Knight starting off with water with Chow. I don't think we have seen a single Chow in SWC, and Chow is below 50, well, he's 50% pick rate, 50 on the win rate. I don't like Chow in general, and the main reason I don't like Chow is because Chow, you feel like, okay, Chow's gonna take a turn, he's gonna cleanse everything, and then I'm good shit to go. Issue is, you're not with Chow. Chow is gonna take a turn, and then still has like fucking garbage cleansing, and he's not gonna do jack shit. Like, legitimately, I'm gonna put Chow on forever, or what stupid reasons. Chow's 55 for me. It's so easy to manipulate the attack bar for Chow. Plus, Chow is going to lose a 1v1 against Gianna. Like, technically, you should say, like, oh, debuffs, I can handle that. No, Gianna solo, if she's not the best dollar in game, but actually lands her bomb from time to time. But if she lands her bombs, she will outpace a Chow by so much that she will land more bombs than that he can cleanse. And he would still die a 1v1 to it. So yeah, Chow's often, they're literally on the same level. You think like they are going to do good stuff, and then in the match you're like, no, they were actually not doing too good stuff. Let's look at Laika, because Laika I definitely do feel has more value. Whoa! Jeez! Laika on a 56% win rate? And also 41 ban. That's actually insane. In the 4v4, it's actually slightly low. So it's more that I think it's also the combination. That you at some point, you have a certain draft where you can pick Laika and Douglas. They're technically the same. Slightly different, but technically the same. You cannot ban both. You lost. So if you have a whole draft that cannot counter a Laika, and the whole draft cannot counter the Douglas, you have the 4 and the 5th pick, you throw in both, you can AFK, you can grab a snack and come back and see victory in your screen. It's definitely for that reason, definitely that you have to keep a Laika ruined up, and I'm gonna put it 75. So I think it's not often enough used to where I say like he becomes like 80 and that kind of stuff. But I definitely feel him valued at 75. Would we say 80? I'm gonna give him 75 because I feel like if you want to draft something, you can barely draft him. If your enemy is actively thinking about, I should not be getting countered by a Douglas, and technically he only works if you have first pick. Because if you have second pick, well, then say unless you have like a what's called a Douglas in your 4th slot or your 3rd slot, which is kind of odd because you're not going to throw in a Douglas if you still have to see 2 units on the enemy side and then pick it as a 5th. But yeah, the pick potential is that low that I'm not going to put him in 80. That's the main reason. Let's see what Leo does these days. Leo is not countering as much units anymore as he used to in the past. And that also definitely resembles in his win rate, I would say. Especially in the 4v4, if people do let him through. I also think there's more and more Leo counters. Especially with the red season. Wait, did I even put the red in? Yeah, the red is in. Good. So, yeah, what does he actually actively counter in current meta? It's Miles. It's pretty much just Miles. Everything else kind of just shits on Leo to a certain extent. Also Fire Cassandra, definitely. There's a bunch of other good units you can rune up as Leo counters. So definitely I would say that Leo took a little bit of hits. I would still say that Leo is very strong in combination with Ragdoll. Like any Leo Ragdoll combination, if you already have Ragdoll on the field, it's very easy to tap in that Leo as well. But without that, I don't really feel that Leo has like a crazy amount of value. Like sure, Leo is still very strong. Like he's not gonna be below 80, that's for sure. But I also don't feel like Leo is 85 material at the moment. So yeah, I would say 80. 80 is fair for Leo at the moment. Then we go into Jaeger, and I'm pretty sure Jaeger doesn't contain enough pick rate to be even used. 0.25 on the 39.62 win rate. Yeah, I don't think that anyone wants to use this shit. Let's look at Ragdoll. Jaeger is a bad Julian. Very fair point. Very fair point. Ragdoll is also taking a little bit more hits as of recently. Is still like, unless Gianna and Ragdoll always kind of been on the same level. It was always like who's better of the two of them, being like one of the stronger LDs in the game. Well, current fact is that they're both definitely not the strongest LDs in the game. Definitely also nothing wrong with that for having like a bit of switching and changes in that. But 50.72, I definitely do think that in lower ranks, Ragdoll does shine a lot more. Because Ragdoll technically is easier to build. Sure, you see a big difference in G3 Ragdolls that hit like 20k plus on armor breaks and that kind of shit. But his passive always kind of stay the same. And it's mainly like these passive always stay the same kind of units where they shine more in lower ranks than higher ranks. But Ragdoll definitely still is good. Like if someone plays AoE CC with a whole bunch of critters, Ragdoll definitely do still have value. And for that reason, I'm going to put Ragdoll at least 85, but I think I'm still going to put him at 90. I think I still put him at 90, and the main reason is that I feel like a later picked Ragdoll is still very high value. I feel like that Ragdoll in here is overspammed. And because of Ragdoll being overspammed, like Ragdoll is picked by people that are picking Ragdoll in slot 2, slot 3. I think Ragdoll is going more towards a slot 4, slot 5 pick, and he becomes very strong at that moment. But a slot 2, slot 3 pick, it's like, oh, you have a Ragdoll in slot 2, I'm just gonna go full bruiser with a Miles, Racuni, and a Fire Cassandra in your ass. Yeah, that's kind of the thing where Ragdoll, it can still work, but he feels more hits. But I still feel that Ragdoll is a very high value in the draft in general, because technically, if you think about it, Ragdoll is one of the hardest counters into one of the main used units in the game, because Athena S2, no way you're gonna Athena S2 with a Ragdoll on the field. That's full attack buff for everyone, right? So that is all we have for those. Now we're gonna look at some Mankey business, and actually, I think all of the Mankeys... No, wait, we have the Dark Mankey, shit. I was gonna say, do we have all Mankeys placed in this season? But nope, Dark Monkey is still shit. Well, where do we have Shiho? Shiho recently buffed, S3 also now has a chance to stun. And let's see how that works out. Wow, Monkey is actually 51.50 in the win rate. Not bad, not bad. We don't have so many critical hits in current meta. I do definitely disagree. I think there's a lot of critical hits in the current meta. Plus we have a lot of AoEs. Like Laura AoE is gonna crit something. It's multi-hit. Nikki AoE is gonna crit something. Like we have a lot of those things that are going to crit. Sup Melody? Where's Audrey? I do have her in here, but she's probably not gonna be placed. But we're looking at Monkey, and I think his pick rate is somewhat low. But I do feel his value, especially if you combine him together with like a Ganymede or that kind of stuff. He definitely does fit those kind of drafts. And he has stun on every single turn he has right now. So I would say at least an 80. Pick rate is a little bit on the lower side to say like, okay, do I feel him like on the 85 value? I do kind of value him similar to Camilla, in all honesty. I might actually think that... No, wait, Camilla is actually a pretty high pick rate with like 11 something and then similar win rate. So it's kind of fair that Camilla has a higher up than that. Monkey does need good runes to shine. That's... Well, all of this needs good runes to shine. Well, some more than others, but... I think he's definitely one of those heavy rune investment, good artifact investments to work well. But I will give Monkey an 80. But I'm somewhat tempted to give him higher than that. But let's keep him 80 for now. Let's look at the Mei Hao Wang Start of this season, absolutely my god tier unit. He was destroying everything. Like, this thing was literally like, oh, there's a pro and the miles on the field. This thing was like, man, let me hammer that twice. I motherfucking fucked them up, man. We see a close to 50% win rate and a 14.2 on the pick rate, 19 on the ban. And in the 4v4, non-4v4 is pretty much similar. I think he's being overspammed. Like 14% pick rate, he's definitely being overspammed. But having a close to 15 win rate on a 14 for being that spammed, he's doing good. He's absolutely doing good. That's definitely an 85 for me. He's definitely having the value. He's definitely a unit you want to have built. Keep in mind, build I recommend is Nemesis, 100 crit rate, and then just go around like 110 to 140 on speed, and the rest all stats. More stats, the better. And keep a little bit of accuracy in there, because he likes to hit those armor breaks and that kind of stuff. Let's see what other monkeys we have. We have a Xingzi. And Xingzi is often, it's kind of on, it's better than a Chow, but he kind of gets Chow vibes. And the Chow vibes that I'm talking about, he was used in SWC, so I'm going to place him in. But the Chow vibes he gets is like, okay, I'm going to put in the monkey, he's going to revenge, he's going to stun, and then the monkey standing there like, anytime now. Oh, let me hit, no stun. Fuck you, stupid unit. Now that's the thing, like you get this vibe, like this unit's going to do a lot, and then the unit's going to sit there and stand there and be like, yeah, I could do something. 1% pick rate, 47 on the win rate. In the 4v4, a little bit higher on the win rate. But it doesn't really feel like that much value to him in general. Let's look at Chitian the Shung, which is actually the Light Monkey. And I think the Light Monkey, for some reason, is starting to get more attraction, more value. I think he was kind of falling out of meta in the previous season and the season before that. And the issue with that was, I think, like a lot of passive. Like there was a lot of passive play, a lot of passives rolling around and that kind of stuff. But since we have a few more options towards turn 1 now as well, I think the Light Monkey also has more potential for that. Gianna win rate was like 48 or something, like super low. But yeah, Light Monkey has 54 on the win rate and 6 on the pick. 6 on the pick is not crazy good, or not that high, but 54 win rate is definitely very high. Let's see how he does in low ranks, because technically it's an easy to use and ruined unit, because he has very high base speed. Like you can throw kind of BC or D tier runes at it, and he's probably still in tune like after your fast stripper, which I would say is pretty high value. So I'm actually gonna drop the Chitian the Shung at the 90 rank as well. Would we value him higher than 90? No, I think because his spammability is not really there. Like if he was more spammable, I would have set him higher. But without the spammability, where you can only draft him, because he's technically, I would say in an AoE CC unit, the best 5th pick there is. Dark Vayak 90? I don't think so, man. But I would say, yeah, he's the best 5th pick for an AoE CC comp. But you cannot draft him earlier than like 4th or 5th pick. So for that reason, I give him 90. But he does very good work the moment he's in. let's look for fun at the Dark Monkey. Oh, this is gonna be a laugh and a half. Where are you at? Stupid as you. This is one of those units. He's like the Dabei. He gets 16,000 million buffs, and then he's still shit. Like nothing changes. Like 0.8 on the. This unit is only good if you pair it with a Swift Han. That's the only good thing that about Dark Monkey. Without that, it's bad, and Swift Han is not a recommended build at all. So. Dark Monkey is also not used in SWC, so I'm not going to place it in. Next up is Yeon Hong. And Yeon Hong is, I think, still one of the coolest units. I think that's never going to change. Her win rate, however, is to slightly depleting and getting lower. And it's a 50 in the 4v4, 6.62. I think Yeon Hong is having some issues with other units also getting a very high base speed. And the main thing for that is, like, for example, Sibala is very high on the base speed. Athena being a super hard counter right now, being high on the base speed. I guess those kind of units kind of make Yeon Hong harder to use. Plus, Vio Yeon Hong is not a thing. You need to have Swift Yeon Hong, and the biggest issue about Yeon Hong is you are somewhat forced to use skill 3 right away. And therefore you waste your skills. Oh, it's G1 though. Oh, my bad. Let's go G3. Same stuff. I checked it before, so therefore was not surprised. But yeah, what's the main issue with Yeon Hong? You are forced to use the skill 3, so you're kind of wasting your heal to give like, what, 15% attack bar. And the S2 is inconsistent. Like, if the S2 was consistent, she would have been up with like 3%, 4%. Like, Yanhong would be, if her S2 was consistent, she would be up here, like, no joke. But since her S2 is not consistent, I'm gonna put her 85. Like, yeah, would I put her 85? Maybe 90. Yeah, I kind of like the 85. No, I actually feel that she's better than the 85 units. But that's my feeling. Are we gonna go for another in-between tier? We are definitely gonna go for an in-between tier. A row above. We have so many in-between tiers already. And I actually want to do a few. I want to do you, you, and you. Do I value Praha more than Lima in current state? Yes, I do. I actually took Praha's runes to Lima because I feel like she has more value currently. And all those three have like way higher win rate than those three. So that's kind of my argument. Oh, this one doesn't, but I just feel like she has more value. She has more impact in that. She has a quite low pick rate though. But that's my feeling, my opinion. Let's keep it at that. We have the Meowang, the Lima, and the Yanhong at 87.5 right now. Efna better than Yanhong? Yes. Yes. Cammy deserves one higher too. I disagree. I think she still struggles a lot against like Olivers and that kind of stuff. Which is still one of the more common units. Let's go for Pioneers. And Pioneers with the newly buffed Chiwu. And let me actually start a new run because I totally forgot to farm for like about the last half hour. Chiwu is actually looking at a 17.5 pick rate, 48.40 on the win rate. Win rate does actually go down the moment it's in the 4v4. Interesting. Did I miss Wu Yong? I can quickly check Wu Yong, but to be honest, I don't think Wu Yong is actually picked enough. Let me check. Wu Yong is actually picked enough. Thank you. I did miss it in that case. Wu Yong is just a cleave unit, and I never really valued cleave units that high. I think it's niche too nice for a speed lead, that kind of jazz, but you need a specific comp with her. And the win rate is actually, the pick rate is not bad, and the win rate is actually not bad as well. Like 2.5 on pick rates. Win rate like pretty close to 52. I can't deny statistics, so I'm gonna give Wu Yong to an 80. But that is also, I would say, very specific on like you need a good comp to make it work, and then it works decent enough, I would say. No, I'm gonna drag her down for low pick rate. Like, I feel like these have way higher pick rate, way higher like spam abilities than Wu Yong. Wouldn't be fair to pick her, like to put her there with like 2.5 pick rate. That's not fair. She's 75 for me. So we go back to the Chiwu. And Chiwu does have a little bit lower win rate than expected, but pick rate is pretty high. I do think he's very much overspent. He has pretty high first pick potential. I think in here, well, 1.39 is not the most. Wait, let's actually see in what number he is the most picked. It's not too bad. He's like number 10 to number 15-ish. Wedjat first pick? Are these people freaking mental? Or not Wedjat. Wedjat first pick makes a lot of sense. This thing, Viva Chow first pick. But Chiwu damage is definitely good. I do think people have to value better runes to Chiwu, because I see a lot of Chiwus just speed. Just speed and nothing else. But Chiwu damage is actually very good. He scales from speed, he scales from HP. So definitely crit rate is the way to go. Because that makes the scaling on everything, right? Makes sense. So Chiwu for me is definitely an 80. I would say Chiwu in overall usage is an 80 for me. Chiwu in the specific comps that we saw a lot in China would definitely get an 85 for me. And that is pairing Chiwu with Ganymede Wusa. If you pair Chiwu, Ganymede, Wusa together, Chiwu definitely becomes an 85 for me. But in general use, I would say 80. And looking at the win rates, I think most people use the general use, and therefore the win rate isn't crazy high. So it's kind of similar on point as Gianna usage as well. But definitely if people start going more for the Gany Chiwu Wusa, Chiwu will definitely see higher win rates and higher tier ranking as well. Next one is a Wusa. And Wusa is actually, for that same reason, combination with the Chiwu Gany, becoming more and more popular as well. And Chiwu, or Wusa actually has a close to 51 win rate. In the 4v4, stays about the same pick rate, 22.9. Which is actually pretty nice. Wow, that's pretty good in general. Would I even say one higher than this? Yeah, I'm gonna say one higher than this. Definitely. Like, if you compare the win rates of, like, these units, definitely Wusa is actually higher than all of these as well. But I don't think Wusa feels like a 90 for me. No, I don't think Wusa's at my level for me. But definitely Wusa is 87.5 for me. So that is where the Wusa's placed. Nigong was not used in RTA. Let's see how many pick rate he has. Probably near to none. I know that Obawa's been toying around with it for fun, but that doesn't make a unit good as well. That if one of the absolute top players can win with it. Yeah, win rate of Nigong not that high, pick rate not that high, not used. However, we have the Wunsa brother, and that is definitely something that is used. If we can find it here on the right side. Wow, wait. Wunsa's 5th win rate is actually, wow, so he has a pretty high ban factor. Without the 4v4, so he is a 53.35 on win rate, which is very good. That's actually insanely high. In the 4v4, people let him through, and they can mostly think, like, if people let him through, they're probably full of will, or they expect to outspeed, that kind of stuff. You definitely have that factor with Wunsa, which is a strugglesome factor. But that win rate is pretty impactful, and the ban rate as well. So I would definitely say that you're up there as well. Wouldn't necessarily put you on the 90 range, but I definitely do say that Wunsa fits this range for sure. Is it a worse Eshir? No, I think it's a way better Eshir. Because in the end, Wunsa has very good damage, and don't forget, Pioneer's S1 is RNG, but arguably one of the strongest S1s in the game. And Eshir S1 is a heal block. So, yeah, like 2 turns sleep on an S1, like sure it's very low rate. But if it lands, it is very impactful when it can change matches, like straight up. Plus the S2 is pretty high value too, like especially against like Mashas and other units. Also, if you play this into a Wusa, you can throw the S2 on something. Wusa doesn't cleanse, there's no buffs on that specific unit. The S2 has pretty high value too. Plus, if you want a speed contest, this thing is better, like it's 5 base. 5 base is a lot of speed, because I think 5 base is at least +1 on your Swift base. So your Swift base is like on 125, but on 120 it's, I think it's like 28 or so. And between 15 and, so technically you have a 5 base up plus Swift, so technically you're looking at a 6 difference or a 7 difference. So that's quite some difference in speed already, where you can slack a little bit more runes, but still outspeed. And Eshir has a little bit more struggles, where he needs those runes to actually have that speed potential. It's 118. You're actually totally right, so then it's probably just 1. And then it's 3, so it's 4. Okay, I was slightly wrong on that, but good call on that. Yeah, he's not 120. How do you have in mind that's 120? I have no fucking clue. Probably Crow. Is Crow 120? I don't even give a shit. Okay, let's continue on with Thessarion. Laura's 120. That's the one I had in mind. Thank you, boys. Thank you. Thessarion is always one of those that I'm like, the win rate is so low, but the unit feels so good. Right? Like, I think all of you have it, that if you look at Tessa and you would say like, oh, who's the lowest win rate unit in all of G3? And I would say like, oh, that's probably Tessa. You would be like, nah, man, Tessa's pretty good. No, Tessa's actually pretty bad. Like, he's definitely on one of the lowest for win rate. And he's just countered by so much. Like, he's trying to counter the hardest thing in the game, which is passives. And he does an okay job at it. But he's trying really to fight like an uphill battle. Like, this is the guy that has to go to school, and he walks uphill both ways. Like, from school and to school. Like, both ways he fights uphill. Like, fuck that, man. He gets fucked by everything. So, I would still say that Tessa does have high value. It's just that he does a strugglesome job, and therefore, I would still say that Tessa is an 80 for me. And that is by clearly looking at the ban rate, looking at the pick rate, looking at what he has to fight most of the time. So, also throwing, he has to swim uphill, yes. Yeah, that's actually a better one. Thessarion in most of his battles has to swim uphill to actually counter what he's trying to counter. So, yeah, that's a troublesome fight. Also, Thessarion needs crazy good runes to make him, like, if you want to have like a crazy Thessarion, he starts doing a lot of damage because he still scales with speed. And that starts to tend to hit quite hard while being quite tanky from his passive and that kind of shit as well. But yeah, I will give Thessarion an 80, even though his win rate definitely does not resemble being an 80. I'm pretty sure that Theomars is not going to be in. Elsharion is most likely not going to be in as well. It's just being used with that Rogue comp with like a Dusky and that kind of weird shit. But we do, however, have Veramos. And Veramos is actually pretty high on win rate in the 4v4. Veramos on the 4v4 is an 84.38 on the win rate, pick rate of 5. If people let it through, it drops down to 50. But Veramos, triple Nem is the most common build. You see some people going on Vio. Don't really like Vio all too much. Triple Nem is the way to go, I would say. And he's a juicer on Triple Nem. He does a lot of good work on Triple Nem. He only can be used into very specific comps. He has the high anti-value for him that if he's stunned, he doesn't get the extra turn. If he would get the extra turn while being stunned, Veramos, no joke, would be somewhere up here. Like, Veramos would be the hardest counter against anything debuff CC related in the game. This thing would like be fucking off the chain. But since his stun value and there's more and more units coming on Despair, because Despair, in my opinion, got a pretty hard buff, I would say that Veramos gets an 80 for me as well. Yeah, I think that's fair, because you can't use him that much, but what he does pretty good. Then we're looking at some Polar Queens. Starting off with Tiana, which I haven't seen used too much these days, and technically I am not sure if... Does Tiana still outboost a Hey Gang? I do think so, right? So technically it could be used for that, but let's look at the Tiana win rates and pick rates. Tiana pick rate is actually 4%, which is a little bit decent amount. But the win rate is a 47.5, which is not that great. It doesn't really change in the 4v4. I do think she is a pretty solid pick, but then specifically if you have a Neftis. Like, I think her win rate will be boosted more if more Neftis units or Neftis users start using her as well. Big issue, however, is 96 base speed. Like, anything in life pretty much outspeeds that. You have a terrible base speed to work with. I don't even think Swift gives you 25 on the base. It probably gives you 24 on the base. Robos outspeed you. You're probably off will, blah blah blah, you name it. Everything outspeeds you. Yeah, Tiana with like 100 base would definitely be somewhere 85. Because her S2 is actually pretty high value. But without that, I don't give her more than like a 70. Tiana Neft is a crazy comp, not gonna lie. It is, but the issue is it's very hard to draft in. Because a Tiana on the speed lead will most likely be outsped by a good Segmed. And that's just issue scenario already, right? So, the same with like an Eshir. Like, all of these high speed units on a good Swift set will probably outspeed her with lead. So, yeah, that's just kind of an issue thing for her. Then we have the Light Polar Queen. Okay, that's actually a lot less win rate than I expected. Wow, I thought she was not that bad. Wait, why is she that bad? Is Scribble Bibble just inting all his matches to show that this unit is bad so she got buffed? What is the deal with it? 44 on the win rate? On a 1.12? Pick rate? Scribble, you're inting. Please tell me Scribble's the most used here and it's a fucking low win rate. No, Scribble's actually boosting the win rate on a 63. Who the fuck is inting this win rate then? Like, Scribble, I take my words back. 63, you're doing Gucci, no worries. But who the fuck is inting this win rate then? like, I would arguably say that I expected her to be like 49, 50, 51-ish. I do think she has pretty good value, but she has to be used in the right comp with like more CP, that kind of thing. Like exactly what Scribble's doing, I would say. But I think she's too often used in comps where people just draft a Pheromos, Juno, Runuki, Jesus take the wheel, take it on auto, and you get fucked or something. But yeah, Scribble does have the units to make it go well with. I think the Jean definitely does help with it. Are you skipping certain units? I'm skipping units if they have very low pick rate. Or not being used in RTA or anything like that. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go for 75. Like, I would say personally like 80 or 85. But since her win rate is that shit, I'm gonna give her 75. Like, I can't put this to high win rate. Like, or a higher tier. That's impossible. Lydia is most likely not picked in RTA. I'm not even gonna look it up, but we are going to look up the Tetra. Where do we see Tetra? Tetra's 1.5 on the pick rate. And win rate is not that high. To be honest, I also think a lot of people are picking Tetra wrong and making Tetra violent. Tetra fits on Swift with very high HP and then like plus 190 speed or so. And I think that makes Tetra pretty solid in general. And Tetra could once again, like if you have the combination of a Veromos plus Tetra in the slot 4 and 5, you kind of fuck up people. Like if you play some heavy AOECC comp, it's pretty nice. However, I must say that current meta kind of has less and less value where she fits as a pick. But Veromos fits a lot more as a pick. So I'm gonna lower her to 65 at the moment. It's also like the double fish. So the Molly plus the Tetra used to be a good combination. But Molly with her current nerfs kind of fell off a little bit as well. Molly actually mostly fell off in the pick rate rather than the win rate. And funny enough, like for pretty much everyone and their mom just threw the Molly runes. I still think Molly is a 70 at least. But Racuni is just so much better. It's just what it is. And with Kara Scroll with a primer. Appreciate it. First primer of the day. So that we have for the fishes. Let's go on to some Sea Emperors. I don't think Poseidon is being used enough. Nope, below 1% pick rate, so I'm not going to put it in. Oh wait, we have What the Bip with another primer. I appreciate it. But yeah, Poseidon, not used enough. Okeanos was used in SWC, so I am going to place it in. But keep in mind, I think Okeanos really sucks. And if the Okeanos also absolutely did nothing in that match, the only thing the Okeanos did was being a punching bag, throwing back 2 as once, and being controlled the whole time. And Karno would have done the same job but 1,000 times better. More or less. But let's see what the win rate of Okeanos is. 48. It's actually not that terrible, but Okeanos for me, like by all means, you get 65. You're not gonna get higher than this. Okeanos, to be honest, like if Okeanos gets his S3 reverted to where he hits more often like he used to before, I think he wouldn't be that OP. I think he would go to like 85-ish. Yeah, I think so. How do we feel on an S1 buff on Sea Emperors? I feel not that great because Pontus might be pretty nasty. But let's see what Pontus does at the moment. Yeah, let's say if a unit has 56.70% win rate, even though his pick rate is very low, I say stay away from his S1, making that higher. Like, Pontus is just nasty. Because a Pontus owner knows if his Pontus is on will or not. So you can trap a Gianna with that or not, based on your knowledge. Like, the enemy doesn't have the knowledge on your Pontus being willed or not. Your Pontus could be triple Nem, your Pontus could be Vio Nem, your Pontus could be Vio Will. That's just a lot of value in one unit, plus a speed lead. So, I think the unit has pretty high value in general. It's not the most picked, but yeah, and Pontus, I always call it in Arena the Pontus luck. And the Pontus luck is you resist something or you proc out. And the reason I call it the Pontus luck is because a Pontus proc or a Pontus resist is an insta lose. So you're gonna remember all of them. Whereas it's just 15%. But if I fight 10, it's gonna happen 1.5 times, right? That is just the statistical fact on it. And if you count both, so a 1.5 or a 15 check and a 22 check, we're looking at like what? 23-25% something that it will happen. 1 in 4 you get the Pontus moment. And the Pontus moment is most likely an insta lose. So for that reason, Pontus is just a very toxic unit. But I don't think you can place it too often into too many matches. So for that reason, like the low pick rate made him at 85. If he was this win rate with like higher picked, I would definitely place him higher. But I don't think you can spam him that much. So it's very much just a counter pick. And for that reason, he's an insane good counter pick, but he's just a counter pick. We continue on with Triton. Is he like same as Lima? Yeah, you're actually fucking right. Like he's better win rate than Lima. No, I'm actually gonna put him on the 1 tier higher because he's better win rate than Lima. And technically he's similar to Lima, but I would say same but different. Different S2, Well, if there's one, speed lead. That kind of shit. Well, different use case. Because Lima, you kind of want that speed lead next to. This thing is the speed lead. So, yeah, I feel fair for putting Panda's 1-up on the 87.5. I agree. That's why it's nice to have chat here while I'm making these tier lists as well. Let's go next on the Triton. You don't see the unit too much. And if you use it, maybe you should fucking unruin him. Holy shit, I never seen such bad thing in my life. We have the Triton at a 3.71 on the pick rate, but a 43.12 on the win rate. And I think it just simply shows Vert fucks him up. Chiwu is hard to push back. More you cannot push back. You name it. Counters. Triton is absolutely garbage for the S2 and the S1 into like a Racuni. If you just throw a Juno Racuni into a Triton, Triton is almost already nullified, except for his pushback. So, yeah, Triton just struggles with the whole meta. And for that reason, I can't give better than Tritos on a 60. Like, in all honesty. I feel like he can potentially give you that win. But I feel like he's also... I do say that his win rate is probably lower. Mainly because people feel like, ooh, I'm gonna get outsped. Triton has some runes, I'm gonna throw it at something. And for that reason, I think Triton... I would give him a little bit more value based on that knowledge that his win rate is probably really... Like, what kind of runes are you gonna throw at your Triton? That's your 4th or 5th speed set, right? You're not going to put like insane speed runes to Triton. Those speed runes are on an Eshir, an Athna, or anything like that. But Triton just does bad. Like his base speed. Well, the thing is, if the match was over after turn 1, Triton had more value. But 9 out of 10, your match is not over with the Triton after turn 1. You need to have more things happening to clear the match. And that just makes Triton in the later part of the match has near to no value. Technically, Triton actually has most value, and I actually used to run that, is where you have Chiwu move before Triton. And then Triton, you can go for Chiwu skill 3 into a Triton skill 2. Because Triton skill 2 technically is a semi-CC. However, you kind of ruin the whole potential of Triton if you do that shit. So. Yep. And there's a lot, like... If you just see the Laura potential with like the whole kit of Laura skill 1, cycling, skill 2, AoE stun, slow, skill 3, giving attack or speed buff plus defense buff and everything. Yeah, and then Triton is like, I do as 1 and I throw back debuffs if they are there or something. What? So yeah, I'm gonna 65 Triton. I can't get it over my heart to also put him like higher up because I think the units. Okay, 70. 70 by best. 70 by best. Or are we going 65? Nope, 65. Fuck the unit. Too many counters. Too many counters. Too many counters. Okay, we continue on with some... what are the names? The Egyptian gods, Bastet and shit. Desert Queens. Desert Queens. Bastet was used in SWC, so I am going to place it in. Are you ignoring net force? I'm ignoring net force that are not used enough. And I know that Stella's not used enough. But Bastet is also technically not used enough, but Bastet was used in SWC, so I am going to place it in. Bastet, however, I do definitely feel like is a unit that has potential with the right draft. It was actually used in SWC with a Barbara and a Narsha comp, which of course makes it very strong. But for that reason, it's just mainly those specific comps, and you actually have to throw like very good runes to it to make it shine and that kind of stuff. So for that reason, I'm gonna put her just at a 64 Bastet for me, because she's still kind of the cleave unit, which I don't really feel like in G3 works that well. Sekhmet, or also known as Suckmet. 20% pick rate, 46.61 on the win rate. She is actually a very high value unit. But if she actually landed her skill 3s, Viras would have been 1 round further. And Raigeki would have been in SWC, so she's down here. No, I'm just kidding. I feel she's decently valued, but her win rate is just kind of shit. But Sekhmet for me is at least an 80. At least. Yeah, she's just an overall solid unit, but she does have her struggles. Let's look at the Hathor, the unit that we saw make a comeback in mainly the China Cup. That is actually not bad value. 50% win rate on a 5.5% pick rate. Those are not bad numbers. But still, I think Hathor is not much better than 75. Main reason is that if you know the enemy is a Hathor user, if you go in with that Masha, with the Racuni, with the Juno, it does kind of hard counter this unit in general. Plus, it's relatively easy to break the comp by just simply banning the Hathor, banning the Geni. Like, without the Geni, Hathor's kind of useless. And we have Lunderies with a tier 1. Appreciate it. I'm going the units by order, so that makes it easiest for me to pull all of the units in. So you can name units out of order, but I'm not going to place them in without order, because this way I can make the timestamps easier. Let's say Isis. Isis. Is that actually used in RTA? I think Isis is a nice last pick. Was Isis used in SWC? Isis was pre-banned in SWC. I'm not entirely sure who pre-banned it against who, but I did see some Isis pre-bans. I think Isis can be a very nice unit, but it needs to be... It needs to land. Like, it has the segment issue. It needs a very specific comp where there's an AoE stripper before. She doesn't have that much value on her S1. S2 is okay-ish, but also doesn't really fit the rest of the things. She just kind of struggles, like, in all honesty. Like, 48.13 win rate is not the worst. Pick rate 0.74, which is kind of low. She's actually in the match 4v4 is lower. Since she was banned in SWC, I'm going to place her in. But Isis gets a 65 from me. It's not that crazy good. Yeah, I'm not sure what you should do with her. Like, if she would 100% land her shit like a segment, and she would become pretty interesting, I guess. But let's see where, or another segment, the Nefties, of course. But let's look at Nefties. Nefties is still one of the higher used LD5s. 21% on the pick rate. Win rate is 15.80, which is definitely not bad. We have definitely seen higher for Nefties as well. But she's kind of falling off due to metas and that kind of thing. Like, Nefties on 92.5. No, I totally disagree on that. I would put Nefties at 90. Because she has, like, before you could say, like, she's very good because of the no... because she's 100% consistent. She's no longer that. You have like a 3% chance or a 3.5% chance to get screwed by just RNG on the S2 right now, which is just dumb in my opinion still, but whatever. Her main issue is that she's hard countered by the same things that the units that you pair her with are also probably hard countered by. So for example, if you go for a Gianna Neftis combination, you're still hard counted by a Juno. So with those kind of things, you have that issue. She's pretty hard counted by like a Juno, by the Red, by those kind of things. And the current meta does make her somewhat less good of shining than she was in previous metas. But however, is she better than most of these? I'm gonna give her 1 up because of the high pick rate. Mainly the high pick rate actually gives me the 1 up. Yeah, I would say Nefty's on 92.5 because of the high pick rate. And I would say that she is better than those units. Yeah. I think that's fair. Now we get into the unit that everyone wants to see placed. Amduat. Oh, wait. Such an anti-landmarks. Let's see if Amduat is actually in. I think he's actually picked. No. Don't pick Amduat. If you build Amduat for RTA, don't. Well, we have his brother. Cubes enough. No, let's go for Wedjat. Wedjat. Let's look at the one and only unit. Oh, wait. We can look at Wedjat just here. We just put the win rate to the top. We select it for 2% and up, and we see the unit here pretty fast on a 54.60% win rate, on a 29 pick rate. First pick potential 13.13. If we make that to the 4v4, let's see the difference. 4v4 potential for a Wedjat is 55.61. Ban rate is also 26. I did this once before. And I'm going to do this once again. And that is this. And the only other unit that has ever been here in this tier is Veronica, and Wedjat actually deserves a higher tier than this. And I'm gonna meme it to 106. And the main reason that I say that is where it is the one up on Veronica is that Veronica wasn't the first pick unit. Wedjat is. Laura you cannot first pick. Wedjat you can first pick. Wedjat is absolutely redonkulously OP. There's so many units that just get so much stronger because of Wedjat. Wedjat better than Laura? Oh hell yes. Oh hell yes. Definitely. If you see, like, definitely for, we have twice the pick rate. We have 4 times the ban rate, or like 3.5 times the ban rate. And if we look at from this perspective, we have Wedjat in 6 times as much as first pick. Whereas, sure, Laura has a 3-4% higher win rate. But also the really big difference is Wedjat doesn't need good runes. You just need fast runes. Like, legitimately, I was on an account for like some reruning stuff, and I saw this speed set of a flat defense slot 4, a flat defense slot 6, crazy fast quad rolls. I was like, yo, try this on Wedjat, because I literally think this would rock Wedjat's roll. And it's actually fucking good. Like, that Wedjat is super fast on flat defense slot 4, flat defense slot 6. He's fucking stomping everyone. Like, you don't need good runes on this. That's how freaking, like, sure, we're making a G3 RTA tier list. Laura is very good, but Wedjat is absolutely busted. Like, if you have to ban Wedjat, or let's say you're playing someone, and you have the choice of pre-banning Wedjat or Laura, who you're pre-banning. I'm banning Wedjat, man, 100%. 100,000% I'm banning Wedjat. Because he's just a playmaker. What is, like, to Laura, technically, you can make certain comps to outspeed Laura. What is a hard counter to Wedjat? Like, Laura's countered by a Juno, for example. Wedjat is not even countered by Juno. Like, he doesn't give shit. Chiwu? Don't think so. Like, only Tian Lang properly counters Wedjat. Miles doesn't counter Wedjat. Miles is even boosted because of Wedjat. So, by all means, don't get me wrong. I definitely do feel like Wedjat needed a buff. He 100% needed a buff. He was in the worst position, and he definitely does feel fair that he's very good at the moment. But does he need a nerf for where he's at the current point? Even Tian Lang doesn't counter Wedjat. I arguably agree with that. The Scion's never gonna get a turn. Like, the thing is, Wedjat, especially in the current meta, where some units just are highly elevated, like Racuni, Wedjat, you're not gonna kill shit in life, like, ever. So yeah, I definitely do feel like Wedjat is insanely high. So that's 106 for me, which it's higher than what Veronica used to be. And the main reason for that is, well, simply said, Veronica you couldn't first pick, Wedjat you can, that's the 106. So it's just for the meme on that. But to be honest, I feel like Wedjat should be good. Like, Wedjat definitely has the value to be good. Wedjat deserves to be good because he was bad for like such a long time. However, for how good he is right now, I would like to turn that knob down like 2-3 notches, and then he's in a good position. How would you do that? Lower the healing, remove the healing, I don't know, give 1 turn extra cooldown on the S2, certain things like that. Like, sure, keep the self-boosting, that kind of bullshit, but turn down the notches of like the amount of healing, the sustain, or make the cooldown on the S2 longer. Those kind of things I would say, like, okay, are fair nerfs to Wedjat, which probably drags down Wedjat to 95 or this, but it gets him away from the 106. So yeah, that's definitely my take on Wedjat. And now everyone's gonna be like, no, my Wedjat's gonna get nerfed because of this tier list. No, Wedjat's gonna get nerfed because he's fucking OP, not because of my tier list. I just point out the obvious. Let's move on with some Fairy Kings. Oh man, this is definitely going to be my longest tier list ever. Well, I kind of expected that as well, so I don't really care. Samath is 3.61 and a 46.70 in the win. Is used to a decent extent. I noticed that people try him on like the Rage Nem build, but Samath is not really doing a good job. Yeah, it's one of those units you feel like I should do shit, but doesn't do shit. And this is kind of the tier of like should do shit, but doesn't do shit. Well, to be honest, like people are saying, like, oh, I hope that Wedjat doesn't get the Gurkha treatment. Look at Veronica. Veronica has been nerfed 3 times, and Veronica's still going to be somewhere up here. You already know that part, right? So they can nerf in a way where they don't got a unit to nerf it. Just have to nerf like slight things and not completely remove shit. Wow, Deafness, that's a shit unit. 2% pick rate on a 45 on the win rate. I would say that Deafness deserves a 60 as well. It's one of those units. Can do well, probably doesn't. Fuck the unit. Coin flip unit. Then we have Ganymede. And Ganymede, as mentioned before, is pretty good with Chiwu, pretty good with Wusa, pretty good with all of those kind of units. And he's a 13.14 pick rate, which is pretty high. And a 50.80% on the win rate, which is definitely a decent to very good number. That's actually a very legit number. So for me, I would definitely say that you are probably this value. Maybe even this. No, I feel like Ethna definitely does have more value than you. But you definitely do fit this tier, similar to Wusa. Yeah, I think like pick rate is quite a bit less than Wusa. Well, because of the pick rate being less than Wusa, would I want down you? No, I feel like people should be picking up more Ganymedes. Ganymede in the end is just very solid for so many things. There's so many good units that you can pair with Ventilate that just becomes so strong. And Ganymede is technically relatively easy to rune as well. So you can use your later tier runes, still have Ganymede on 85 AC with an S3 artifact that's maybe like 24 or more. Or let's say 20. That's what most people have, I guess. But then you need 65 AC, you're already good to go. It has the high base. It's pretty easy to get in tune, that kind of stuff. Ganymede 80? No, Ganymede's definitely at least 85, but I'm going to put him here. I feel like Ganymede has pretty high value in current meta. And should definitely be picked up by more people. Oberon, same as Deafness that someone else just mentioned right now. Deafness took a quite hit in the win rate of Shizuka nerf. So did Oberon. And I think Oberon even more than Shizuka. However, Oberon's still 51 win rate. Wow, not bad. Okay, that is in the 4v4 he actually sucks, but the ban rate is... Or the win rate is 51.4, but in the 4v4 he actually gets a lot worse. It's just like... The value in the draft is still high. The value in the draft is still a pretty decent factor to where I say the unit can be pretty decent and be used. So I will give Oberon a 75. I think Oberon 75 is definitely fair. But yeah, Shizuka nerf did definitely hit him pretty hard. Let's look at Nyx. And I think Nyx is barely used to not used in RTA. The passive is too inconsistent to use him. That's the biggest issue for Nyx. Yep, don't use Nyx. That's a terrible win rate. We're not even going to look at it. Let's go for the rat. The SWC Racuni, most annoying unit with actually a pretty low win rate. And that's a pretty fun fact because the rat is 47% win rate. And the rat is definitely overspammed. He is very high on the pick rate, has a decent ban rate. Win rate stays about the same in the 4v4 not. But rat has very high value. Even though his win rate kind of sucks, I feel like the amount of usability for the rat is at least 85. I think even 87.5. Not 90. No, 90 is too high to put anything on this win rate in. I totally agree. But I would say 87.5. And I would definitely say that a Racuni, like a proccing Racuni is definitely up there. Non-proccing Racuni is somewhere around here. Like there is like some units really do need those procs to shine. The Ranuki, the Procuni definitely needs to be the Procuni to be good. But once he goes, and it's just such a high value pick. Like the thing with Racuni is, and I also said it during the casting of SWC, it is almost never wrong to pick a Racuni. And that just makes it a safe draft. That also probably drops his win rate. But if you would say like, oh, I'm always going to draft in Ragdoll, there are points where you probably shouldn't have drafted in the Ragdoll. If you say like, oh, there should have been points where I shouldn't have drafted in the Red, there are near to none. Because as long as you take some turns on the Red, and technically fire is the hardest to control because CP, Oliver are wind, Red is hardest to control and he cleanses out himself. So it's almost never wrong to pick him because he's good into Bruiser, he's good into Leos, and he's good into first turn stuff. So he's technically good into all kinds of scenarios in the game. Like, sure, he's only not good into full-on, like, damage cleaves. That's the only thing he can't really handle. But that's a lot of value for stupid, that 3 red that was fed for a vampire lord in the video. Fucking Racuni. Mo long pandas. Do we still see some Molong? We actually see a decent amount of Molong. 7.11 on the pick rate, 48.29 on the win rate. It's not too crazy high, but definitely not bad as well. We do see him for that single target, outspeed, snipe comps that you still see here and there. He gets a 75 for me. It's not used that much, but not the craziest of win rate, but definitely does have value when picked in the right comp. And 75 is definitely not a bad tier to be in. His brother, Unfairbear, aka the Feng Yang. You see that one a little bit less. And funny enough, I kind of expected this unit to shine more because of Wedjat becoming better. Actually, if you keep in mind, Wedjat and Laura both, we have units coming out that are 2A defense scalers. I'm gonna be fun with those two. But yeah, we have the Feng Yang. Feng Yang is actually... Did Feng Yang get played in SWC? I don't think so, right? Because then this rate I don't have to put in. Like, it's actually pretty terrible garbage rate. I'm just gonna place it in, but he gets a 65 for me. Like, no, he gets a 60 for me. I feel like, especially with the... you have a few more units right now with, like, the Fire Cassandra. Fire Cassandra one-shots this, like, any day of the week. So it's not that great of a unit. You have Tian Lang. And Tian Lang, I would say, is still one of the best units in the game. One of the hardest counter picks in the game. But does he do that great at the moment? 22.65 on the pick rate. Win rate is 52. In the 4v4 goes up to 52.73. Definitely not bad. Definitely not bad. We have seen him higher, though. We have seen him like 53, 54 on the win rate. So he did drop down some in the win rate. It's actually somewhat surprising why he dropped down in the win rate, because he's technically good into Racuni. I would arguably say he's one of the better picks into Wedjat. He's good into like Juno, like a whole bunch of things that you see at the top he's technically quite good at. But Athnas, same thing. Ragdoll, same thing. Hunt, same thing. Oliver, same thing. So technically he should counter a lot of stuff, right? But his win rate is not necessarily resembling that much. However, his pick rate is incredibly high. So I think a 95 is definitely fair for him. I am contemplating to put him here because of the pick rate being higher. But then you see these units being at 55 plus win rates. And you're like, the bear is good at a 52 on 59. Yeah, I guess he's maybe slightly overdrafted. There's still certain things that hard counter him, pushbacks, that kind of stuff. More Genny plays will technically hit the Tian Lang as well. Same with like CP and kind of stuff, but I would say the bear fits a 95 for me for sure. Moving on to the Mi Ying, which gave us one of the most amazing matches of SWC that we have seen so far. And I think a truly underrated unit. The unit actually does a shit ton of damage if he's let in the draft, where he's just very hard to kill. And the win rate actually does show that as well. Like, the pick rate is definitely low. It's like 1% or even less. But win rates are 53.26. And without the 44 is 51. So definitely a unit that he's often banned, I guess. 20 on the ban. That is definitely a unit to fear, I would say. And I think it's undervalued. I'm not going to put it like something that's 1% pin rate. I cannot say like, oh, that's an 80 or something. But I do definitely feel that Mi Ying fits a 75, and I think it should be picked up more. Sean over Tian Lang, Nefty's Ragdoll feels okay. I love Sean. Yep. Have you seen Sean win rate, Mr. Scribble Bibble? Have you seen the win rate of this little thing? I think it's enough to say that that Sean is slightly better than these other units. Yeah, that's a fucking insane win rate, man. I think you either read Sean too high or Theor too low. I think that the value of the speed buff plus not having to actually hit something to stun it is so much more value. So I definitely do think that that's a lot more value for that case. Wait, is my chat disconnecting? Oh no, we're back. Plus Sean has a better base speed, doesn't he? Or is Sean also 95? No, I think Sean is higher than 95, right? No, 95. Okay, base speed is pretty low. But yeah, definitely Sean is a lot better. Plus, Tayor has specific elements that are good into him. Sean doesn't have that. Let's continue on. Plus, yeah, no, I definitely think that. Like, I feel like Tayor's win rate is kind of low. Personally, for me, I feel like Tayor is higher, but Sean is just incredibly shit. Or incredibly good shit, let's call it that way. But I would say that Tayor is like 75-ish for me, but his win rate is totally not showing that. It is totally not showing that, and for that reason I won down that one. Okay, continuing on with something I have no clue where I was at. Ponies? Ponies. Ponies? I didn't even like fucking ponies. Diana first. Diana first is a 4.41 on the pick rate and a close to 50 on the win rate. In the 5v5, about same. And that is going to be a 75 for me. Yeah, 75 for me. It's a little bit better than what's in there. Now, I do think Diana in the right place is pretty strong, but how often is it right placed? Yeah, that is not that much. And I feel like these units you can pick more often most of the cases. Yep. Let's see. Wait, does Sean have Awaken into Accuracy? What is the Awaken of Sean? In the meantime, I'm gonna place in Helena. That 25% is a big value. That 25% is a huge value over Tayor. Let's see for Helena. One of the better Leo counters, I would say. Especially after recent buffs. Okay, not one of the better Leo counters. Holy fucking Jesus. This unit has, well, no pick rate, no win rate, but also not used in our SWC, I think. That's really bad. I kind of expected more. Tablo, however. Let's look at what a Tablo can do these days. Tablo was definitely used in SWC. Pick rate of 2%, win rate of 48.75. Bit lower on the pick rates than before. 50 on the win rate in the 44. I'm not too big a fan of Mr. Tablo. I think he's okay to niche in certain comp situations. But he gets like a 75 for me. Or does he even get lower than that? No, I think he gets a 70 for me. Because Tablo only works in specific Tablo comps. If you don't run a specific Tablo comp, Tablo's pretty much shit. Or nearly always shit. Like, sure, you can pick him up here and there. But in most cases, he kind of becomes shitty-ish. So I don't really like the unit in that case. And he has a decent amount of counters into him. Vivachel. Where damn unit at? I think Vivachel's decently used. Yeah, it's actually all the way at the top here. 8% on the pick rate. Wow. 49 on the win rate. And 48.5 in the win rate on the normal non-5v5. Not bad. Most likely paired with Ragdoll, and without Ragdoll doesn't really shine that well. With that factor in mind, I'm gonna put her at 75 as well. I do feel that Vivachel always have the factor where it's like, ooh, Vivachel could do good into me right now. But in most cases, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of a yeah, it is boosted by other LDs. What the fuck? Why is Gianna 80? Well, Gianna's an 80 because she's actually on a win rate of 48.44, which is pretty much the worst spot she's ever been in. Which kind of resembles similar win rates and similar play times than all of the other units, kind of. She just have been getting like hard counter or hard counter released. I just explained that my Gianna was 80. Okay, let's continue on, and if you want to see all of that kind of other stuff, check out the video later. We're gonna see in Alexandra. I'm pretty sure Alexandra. I missed that pony though. Alexandra, where are you at? I think Alexandra is... was Alexandra used in SWC? It was used in SWC. There was this one... Oh yeah, this Fire Cassandra killed her own team against Alexandra. I think Alexandra is a very solid last pick. If you're fighting a team with damage but 0 sustain and you have some sustain, Then Alexandra becomes very good, but her pick rate is just insanely low, so she's not used much, so I'm just gonna give her like 75. I think it was Julia, not a Firecast. Wasn't it both? I don't even remember. But yeah, something killed herself against an Alexandra, and I think Alexandra 5th pick very strong. It's just not used that much in here. Is it used more over here? Really? Win rate with it is insanely high though. Paladins. Josephine. Another inconsistent unit. Why? Well, S1 has 80% activation rate. And that kind of shows in her win rate as well. It's one of those units, once again, like we have a whole bunch of those units that are just... You feel like it should do a lot, but then 9 out of 10 doesn't do a lot unless she procs every time and actually lands all the time. So 6% pick rate and a 46 on the win. Probably this kind of drops down her win rate a little bit if she's not banned. Or if she's banned... No, when she's not bad. But I would say she definitely does have more value than most of these units. She, I would say 75 to 70. I feel like she mostly doesn't work as counter. Like, to be honest, Josephine should be one of the hardest counts to the things that I use with, like, Giannas, Robos, Despair Moors, that kind of shit. I don't fear Josephine that much. Like, 9 out of 10, Josephine doesn't do enough. Just gets stunned. All of her fucks her up. Ganny fucks her up. I don't know. Anyone fucks her up. She just starts doing not that much. So, personally for me, she's 70, but I think I should place her at 75. Who's at the top of the tier list right now? Oh, we have Wedjat on 106. She needs to proc. Yeah, the thing is, a Josephine that procs all the time is definitely somewhere like 85, at least. But Josephine that never procs is like 65, 70. It's kind of the thing. I'm gonna put a 70, I guess. Next we have Ophelia. Pretty sure that that's not used enough. Did we see any Ophelia user in SWC? I don't think so, right? Or did we? No, we did see one because there was something with Threat State and then Threat State being countered by Shizuka. And because of Shizuka, all Ophelia don't use that shit, man. 55 is absolutely garbage. Like, not gonna lie, man, that unit doesn't work. Especially if you're playing against the Shizuka, Threat State on the whole enemy team is freaking annoying. Like, you don't want to fight Threat State on the whole enemy team. And I explained it at the casting as well, I'm gonna explain it again. Threat State on the whole team means everything is a threat, nothing is a threat, right? So, because of that, everything is a threat, nothing is a threat, you can hit whatever you want. But you only have 2 turns to hit it, and then you have to switch target. So if you hit twice, and you can't kill that unit, you can never hit that unit again until you hit 6 other targets. So everything you're gonna hit twice, nearly kill them, not actually kill them, and then you have to switch targets probably. So therefore, anything Threat State that picked up by Shizuka is just super hard countered, because if you don't kill in those 2 turns, you're gonna get fucked up and never kill anything. And Threat State also reduces damage, that's true. So that's also how I think it was APAC, I think Spires is right on that, yeah. The Threat State was picked up by Shizuka, and that unit, like, the whole team was just crashed, like, brain freeze, didn't connect, dead. We have Leona next. Let's see how badly Livered boosted this unit. I'm not even gonna look at the win rate right now, I just want to see how many matches was Livered on this. So Livered did 99 matches of the recorded 214. Or 241. So Livered played about like more than 1/3 of the matches on 70% win rate. And the win rate of the unit is 54.77. That's absolutely clouded as fuck. The win rate of this unit is like 51 without Livered. Still not bad unit though. Definitely still not a bad unit. But I feel like for most people she would fit as a good last pick as like a 70 or like 65. I will go 70. Good last pick, that's it. Unless you have your whole team, like comp played around it like a Livered, she just becomes a 70. Even though that she shows like an insane win rate, this is such a clouded win rate. That didn't SWC get a Cadiz? You might be right. That's actually when I have to put Cadiz in there as well. Yeah, Zepha probably used Cadiz, that's actually true. But Cadiz had a terrible win rate. And Cadiz I definitely don't recommend to use according to this win rate. Cadiz is also one of those units with 65 at best. That's all I'm gonna give you. I think it's not a bad unit, but it's just... Are you gonna invest runes that are pretty fast? Like, the thing is, you have to invest like a 180, 185 set into a Cadiz. Minimum, because his base is pretty shit as well. So, Are you gonna invest that to outspeed your Oliver and then do actually pretty much near to nothing? I don't know. Triple Revenge can't even do that on that speed. What about Mukwo? I'm gonna go the units by order, but since I missed that one by order, I'm gonna continue on with the order. Because that makes it most easy for the timestamps later on for me. I would swap... left to right is no order. Like the left to right is not an order for me. I don't have like a high 95 or a low 95. No, everything 95 is equal. Because if I want to make distinguishes in between that, I'm gonna be here until tomorrow. So win rate for Herney is 47.66, 1.44 on the pick rate. Her biggest issue is that she has to not glance the S3. So therefore anything she wants to land on wind, or anything she has to land when glanced, is just 10 times harder. And that is the biggest downfall of that unit, where she actually becomes not that great, where you think she's probably gonna do a lot. But I still think that Herney does have potential to be like a 70 in the right draft. Because if you have certain drafts with like a Shizuka on the field, and then you want to draft like Oblivion, and Oblivion is most likely banned. You pick, for example, Thessarion, they banned the Thessarion, your Shizuka cannot spread Oblivion. But what if you pick Thessarion and Herney? Now they're looking at trouble. So that is definitely the combination of the two is what makes her strong, I would say. What wind unit would you like to Oblivion? Maybe something like a Vert? Or not a Vert, a Leo? A Diana? That's mainly those. Diana, Leos. This one maybe not that much. Smicer, no one uses that shit. I know one person uses it, but no one uses that shit. No, I would say mainly Leo. Leo and Diana. Gyu is a good one too. Yep. Do we have any other units? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Not that much. No, not those two mainly. Savannah, not really used. Wind Monkey, Wind Monkey maybe. Fang, Dominic, not that used that much as well. Well, Dominic has a very high win rate. Teshar, yes, you absolutely want to Oblivion at Teshar. That's very important. We go next on Apelio, which has always been a high win rate unit, but very high win rate because paired well with LDs in turn 2 comps. But in general, also the main counter to cleave comps in general that do not have any cooldown increases. So I always did value Apelio pretty high, and I will still definitely value Apelio pretty high. Minimum 80. I'm actually going to put you 85. 10 on the pick rate, 52 on the win rate. It is somewhat boosted because of certain LDs he's very good with, a Ragdoll mainly, those kind of units. But 85 definitely does fit him. Going on with a Belenus. Belenus was actually recently buffed as well, but I don't think he's seen too much RTA usage except for a Leo counter. And it wasn't used in SWCs, and he's below like a 0.5% pick rate, so I'm not going to pick him up in there. Volantis, however, was very much used and definitely will be used. And Volantis actually has the lowest win rate I've ever seen for Volantis. Wow. In the 4v4 he actually works, but Volantis on a 49.74. That's a lot lower than I thought he would be. Didn't we see Volantis be at like 53, 54 win rate? Terrible unit? I wouldn't classify him terrible unit. People over spam him? That could be a thing. Let's see who's inting with him. Let's see if we see one of the people that use him way too much with like a low as fuck win rate. Oh, it doesn't go lower than this. But yeah, that's actually somewhat of a low win rate, I would say. Godly with the combo. This is Raigeki right there. But wow. Okay. Where do we place him though? I do feel like he's still pretty strong. I do feel like he's maybe somewhat countered by a Chiwu. Because of Chiwu, Chiwu also puts glancing on him that kind of counters him. Heigang counters him for sure. The Heigang buff definitely did have some impact on him. So I think those factors probably lowered his win rate by a bunch. Does that make me want to Juno? Well, Juno always counted him. That's never been changed. Do I want to lower his win rate than or his tier than this? I think I'll place him here. I do definitely think I place him on the 87.5 for Volantis, because I think he's still better than this. Even though that you have high pick rate, higher win rate, I do value Volantis more in general. 90 seems a little bit high for his current win rate and his current usability, because in the end, if you check like what's hard countering him, there's a whole bunch of things that are pretty hard countering him, like the Racuni, the Juno. Chi was good counter into him. Gianna still good counter if it's faster. There's just a lot of things that... Pheromones is a good counter, yeah. So there's definitely a lot of things. Hey Gang is a good counter, which we haven't placed yet. So yeah, there's more and more counters into Volantis, which makes him more difficult to use. But still, this tier is absolutely not bad. It's very far from bad. Then we have Patar, and Patar I actually did play against once with Gianna, and I literally just kept it in the match because I wanted to see a Swift Gianna on 33 lead with a Robo that moves pretty much one speed apart into a Patar without speed lead, and probably just a whatever file build. I'm not sure if it was fast or not. Can he cut me, yes or no? The answer is yes, that cuts you. So this is a super hard counter to Gianna right now. But I think that is the only strip that he actually super hard counters. Right? So, does that necessarily make him great of a unit? I could be super biased, like, oh, it counters Gianna, it's fucking high up there. No, I don't think it's that great. Like, with a Robo, you can still S2 it and then cooldown increase it and then work from there. Win rate does say a 3% and a 48 win rate and 47 in the fourth. It actually lowers. Counters Volantis too. Only if Volantis stuns him though, right? It doesn't if Volantis provokes him. I don't think he counters Volantis, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I'd say Patar at 75. Like, could be working, but most of the time doesn't really work it that well. Or do I want to one down him for that? No, I'm gonna one down him to 70. Patar cleanses. But does he only cleanse when he gets stunned, right? And provoke is not a stun. Like, if he would cleanse all debuffs, it would be nice, but I don't think he cleanses provoke. But I could be wrong in that. So if anyone knows, let me know. Gianna under Abellio, yep. Only on stun, yeah, exactly. Like, if he would cleanse on every debuff, he would be very nice. Like, he would definitely be straight up there. Or even above that. Like, I think if he cleanses everything, he's like 90. But since he only cleanses stun, he only counters pretty much like hard counters Gianna. Or a Despair Stunner. Or Despair Stripper. And Despair Stripper is 2 RNG, right? So it might stun everything except the Patar. Well, rip that. Let's continue on with Bulric. He cleanses all when stunned. Yeah, exactly. Bulric. Where do we see this unit at the moment? I don't think he will be that high because there's just too many things with cycling that kind of hard counter him. Whereas Bulric has issues to be found. Oh, he's up there. And he has issues with getting his skills off. And that's the thing, like someone earlier mentioned, like, oh, we can have Wedjat as counter to Bulric. No, not really. That's not a thing. Why? Because Wedjat will outpace Bulric so much, Bulric will not get a single turn. Like, he gets one turn to heal, he heals everything, and then there's 16 turns on the enemy side. So, yeah, that's definitely a thing. So for that reason, we can see that Bulric has a very low win rate. Pick rate is still decent, but this is one of the metas where Bulric struggles in the most. But still he has decent value. I'm still going to put Bulric at... No, I'm going to put Bulric at 70. Yeah, I'm going to put Bulric at 70 because the things that he was countering before kind of slap him in the face right now because of that cycling and that kind of stuff. And it just makes him like harder and harder to draft in. Geldnir, is that even used? Geldnir, bottom right. Nope, and he's below 1.5, so I don't have to place it in. But to be honest, Geldnir is kind of similar, but worse. It was nice for a little bit into like Marshas and that kind of stuff, but since Marsha's not that dominant anymore, he became a bit worse again as well. Plus, if you know how to play into Gelnir, things just become a lot easier. We have the Cannon Girl Dark. Bella. Let's see how many matches of those are from Obabo. Let's just see if that is a hard factor. Obabo and Sapien. Actually, Sapien way more than Obabo. Wait, this is all Europe. Okay, we do see a pretty hard win rate, but I do also see that it's very much the high-end people that have a lot of matches on her that do very well with her. And I will definitely keep in that bias to not place her too high because of like 1 or 2 people doing insanely well with her. But her win rate, however, is freaking off the chart. Holy shit, 57.64 and pick rate 3.5. I do definitely think that she is insanely strong with good artifacts, good damage, the right team and everything. So I'm definitely gonna place her here. Like if I look purely by win rate, then she would be higher than that, I would say. But I think she fits this tier pretty fine. Like I'm not gonna put her higher than this. Like her pick rate is not that high, but her win rate is showing some absurd numbers, and for that reason I give her 87.5 because she does need crazy rune quality, but she can do quite some work. It's insane. Demons. I think I only have to check Beelzebub. The other was definitely not used. Beelzebub is... Whoa, wow. That unit... Woo, sheesh. I guess this unit has too much struggle into cooldown resetters or some shit. Like, this unit used to be a good 5th pick, but... It is picked enough to be placed, but... Damn, 44% win rate and 42% win rate in the 44 on the 2.29? It's like near non-existing. It's actually terrible, so... I guess we place him in the tier next to Cadiz of one of those units feels like should work, but actually doesn't really work. Apparently. Still feel like I wouldn't mind a Beelzebub. I think he could be decent, but statistics so far are showing something different. Let's look at Barbara. Barbara is a 1.69 here on the pick rate. Close to 420 picks. Yes, sir. But win rate is 50 and outside also around 50. Barbara, I think... Barbara is a niche unit to clear out maybe the Racuni, maybe the Juno, maybe the Thessarion. But I feel like that there's better options to do so. So I think she's definitely not bad, but I feel like there's better options to do it. So I think I'll give her like a 65 or 70. Yeah, she's like a worse Theor, so I will give her, like, if I say Theor 7, I'm actually going to 1-up Theor. Because I definitely do feel like Theor is stronger than that. So I'm gonna 1-up Theor, and I'm gonna Barbara at 70. I think that's fair. Let's continue on with Marcia. As someone pointed out on Reddit that really hates it if people say Marcia. It's Marcia. Marcia. Okay, let's say Marcia. Where's Marcia? 15 on the pick rate and 49 on the win rate. That's a lot lower than it used to be. But still a very high value, strong unit in my opinion. Would we say 85 on her? Yeah, I do think so. Like, sure, she does struggle against, like, the LD5s and that kind of stuff. And they do hard counter her and that kind of jazz. But I would say that Marcia's still pretty solid. 85. Her sister that used to be super OP, but is actually too hard to rune and everyone just stopped using pretty much. Savannah. 0.44 on the pick. Jesus, the unit is not used at all. Well, then we don't have to place it. Yay! Actually speeding up this tier list a little bit. No, we still have so many units to place. Nasha. Oh man, this tier list is going to be absolutely the longest ever. What? Nasha win rate is so bad. Nasha pick rate is 1.44. We did see it in SWC, so I'm definitely going to place it in. Win rate is 47.09. And in the 44, it goes up to 48.73. I think she's just hard into fit. And I think the main reason for that is that there's a lot of speed units that struggle, or that Nasha struggles into. Like Ethna destroys her, Wedjat makes her life annoying. There's just so many things. Leo makes her life annoying. It's just harder and harder to fit in general just. So she's definitely better than Barbara, that's still for sure. But I think does she even get an 80? Her usability is very low. Her win rate is very low. I can't really put that to an 80, in all honesty, weirdly enough. I do think she has good potential in the right draft, but just feels like a struggle at the moment. And I think main reasons, or one of the main reasons, is probably you, and probably you and you. So the Chiwu, the Genni, the Ethna, those kind of units definitely do make it a struggle for Narsha to get anywhere. Sienna, I'm pretty sure I don't even have to look at, but just for the idea of it. Okay, I take my words back. That's actually more than expected. 1.39 on the pick rate. Win rate is 50-50 exactly, and 51.33 on the 4v4. Someone mentioned Seishu is a big factor in this. Let's see. No, we actually have someone else. Wait, we have Sam B. Sepp that actually has close to 60% of the matches of her with a 63% win rate. So, no, that's a super cloud. Like, without Sepp, this thing would have like 48 win rate, pretty much. Okay, interesting. Probably even less. So, I'm not gonna place that in. Whoops. We continue on with Heigang. Recently buffed, insanely high value unit. I always like to play Heigang before, even when Heigang was like on a super low win rate, like 44, 45 win rate, my Heigang was still rocking like 65 plus. But Heigang is actually on a 48 win rate in the 44 right now, or the 44, and a 49 win rate in what just general. 15 on the pick rate. 15 pick rate is very high, and I do feel like he has very good value right now, especially if something strips and lands a debuff. Heigang gets the double boost because he cleanses on the strip, and he gets attack bar on the strip, and then he gets attack bar on the cleanse. That is just some insane value right there, and I definitely do think he becomes 87.5. I don't think he is Athena level. I don't think he's like the LD5s in this level. But I do definitely think that Heigang becomes here. And I've even seen some people first pick Heigang and have decent results with. Plus his ban rate is insanely high for a unit like that. So yeah, Heigang for me is 87.5. He's a very solid unit. Absolutely. Definitely does need the spare runes though. I wouldn't go Swift on him though. Let's see, Joe Gunn was also recently buffed, but Joe Gunn still, it only counters the counter, haha. But yeah, it is the anti-counter right now, but below 1.5 pick rate. Was not used in SWC. Let's keep it out. CP, however, definitely is used. Where are them CP at? CP over here. We see a close to 30% on the pick rate. Win rate is 51. Wow, that's actually insanely good. For like 30% pick rate, having that high of a win rate? That's impressive. Wait, that's actually pretty close to Juno level, is it not? There's actually a higher win rate than Juno, but not in the 4v4, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, in the 4v4, Juno does outshine. Would I put CP towards 92.5 then? No, I think I'm still gonna put CP in the 90, because Juno is a hard counter to things, and I think Juno is more spammed into things she cannot always win. And CP is just like steamrolling when he's fits, he does really well. When he doesn't fit, he gets steamrolled on. But CP on a 90. Solid unit. Solid unit for sure. Mukwool. Some people were asking about Mukwool. Still not really sure about the unit. I think Big Fee used Mukwool. CP is technically better on Despair, but I think Despair is somewhat harder to rune than Vio as well, because you need a lot of Despair runes these days. Thompson used Mukwool, yeah, and not to great success. Mukwool here has 62 win rate, which I think is very much clouded on that 1.12. Who the hell uses that much? Okay, there's literally just epic numbers. We have 1, 7, 2, 1, 8, 2. Combined is 282. The math isn't mathing. However, the win rate is also kind of clouded. We are going to place it though because it was used in SWC. Mugu was really a wild card for me. I really don't know where to place Mugu in all honesty. Like, would he be 85? Would he be 80? Would he be 75? I feel like he's that little used that he's probably not that great. I don't think he's that great. Threat state picked up by Shizuka once again is pretty annoying. I felt like in the match of Toms and Mugu didn't do jack shite. So, I don't know. I think I'm gonna place Mugu at 75. Or 70. For his usability, I feel like he's just 70. Yeah, I feel like he's not great. Like, I don't even know what the fuck this win rate is about. In all honesty. Maybe these matches showed outside of G3. I think that could be a thing that they're currently G3 players, but these matches actually did show from before, like G3. That could make sense. That could make sense. Then the math is mathing again. Okay, let's just continue on with more. Which is still one of the most picked units, if not the most picked unit at the moment. Oh, then he's top left. Oh, makes sense. Yeah, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good either. Don't crash on me right now, website. I need you. I need you, little website. Okay, probably got this out for the video. Know where the timestamp is at. Thank you. Okay, didn't take that long. Okay, let's see here. We can also just see him from here. Am I still logged in? I'm not logged in. Win rate on Guardian 3. Third most picked unit. 48. I guess kind of overspammed. In the 4v4, about same win rate. But more still a very solid. For first pick, is he the... Who's the most first picked unit right now? Wait. Someone was saying I was not allowed to put Wedjat that high. Wedjat is the second most first picked unit in the game. These numbers are not really saying that he's the second most, but in this order list, he is the second most. How this works is from like all of the picks, like from the 29% of the time he's picked first, like in 30% of the time. At least I think it works like that. I could be wrong. Could also just be, no, actually this could be right, that like in 13% of the match he's picked first. I think that actually could be right. That's fucking insane though. Holy shit. That for an LD5? That's busted as well, especially on that win rate. Like Nephthys is also high first pick, but not on a busted win rate like this. Okay, we were looking at more. Definitely worse than CP. But is it worse than this? No, I feel like more actually does fit it. Even though his win rate is somewhat lower. But he's slightly worse than CP in current state, I would say. Yeah, I think that's fair. So more goes on the 87.5 tier as well. Then we have a Dugilas, the unit you expect a lot from and then often really disappoints you. Pick rate is 5.72, win rate is 47.5. Does that go up in the 4v4? Actually goes down in the 4v4. I feel like he's same tier as 52 on ban. That's a good point, good point. That's actually pretty high. I would say he's similar to Leica. He's technically a better Leica. Because he can be used more often than Leica. However, he also loses more often than Leica. No, I'm gonna put him same tier. I could just put him like right next to him, like it doesn't matter. I think they're same tier. Because this thing is overspammed and Leica's underused. If people pick him right, he's 80. I would say so, but I've seen him lose matches where you're like, I've seen this thing lose on 2.5k attack against a Vanessa 1v1. So yeah, this thing can get RNG'd pretty hard and just never counter against the fire unit to still die. And that fire unit barely had any attack probably. So yeah, that factor is still there for what technically Leica can have the same situation, but Leica is still harder to kill than a Douglas. And if they both get unlucky, Leica's still harder to kill. Let's call it that way. Again, I'm pretty sure is not used as much. Or at all. 3 times picked, not bad. Okay, let's go for Carnal next. Carnal is 11.11 on the pick rate. Win rate is 52.80. That is a lot. Wow, Carnal win rate. I've seen the Carnal of Raigeki. He actually has a very good Carnal. But Carnal is always... Wait, where did my Bolveric go? Wait, did I snap the Bolveric from here to there? Okay, Carnal. I would say at least 85. Do I say higher than 85? Win rate does actually showcase him higher than 85 for sure. So definitely this. Like, yeah, is Carnal better than a male Wang? Different usage, but definitely better, I would say. Or definitely different uses, but I would say similar to same, yeah. Yeah, I think I could kind of value Carnal around this. Like, if you look at it purely by win rate, he would be higher up. But I don't really feel Carnal that crazy good. Would I put him towards the 90? Nah, I'm gonna claim him. I think he still kind of shines because of certain LDs. Like, he pairs very well with like Ragdoll and those kind of things. Or other LD5s that make like AoE strip for him or that kind of stuff. I think that pairs him well. And without it, he struggles a bit more. Cigar. Cigar is 53.80 on the win rate. On a 14% pick rate. I should run out this unit. Holy jeebus. Okay, I can't get around it and put this thing on 90. Maybe even higher. That's an insane win rate. What do you guys say about Cigar? Like, to be honest, I mostly don't really fear Cigars that much. Is Cigar first pick real? It happens, but it's more of a tournament first pick than a real first pick, I would say. But it does happen. But would you say Cigar is 92.5? Like, any Cigar users or people that really struggle against Cigars here? Like, to be honest, I never really feel like I struggled that much against Cigar. And I'm not a Cigar user myself. You got the best Via I got. I'm slow, problem is base speed. Yeah, that's the main issue. Like, you need like a 190 base for him or some shit. Or 190 Vio set or some shit to make him actually work. I feel like better than CP, but only on the S3. Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, he pairs pretty decently well with other things as well. So if you make him move, like, let's say your Juno misses one strip, Cigar can fix that. That kind of shit is pretty nice. I think I'm gonna put it at 90 for now. Yeah, I think the other units are just more used than that. So I'm gonna put him on 90 for now. I want to see like who he highly wins with. Godly with LD, 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 LD. Technically also LD. So, okay, he does pair mainly with a double LD, double LD, 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 double LD, double LD. Okay, I kind of get the Cigar thing. He pairs very well with a lot of LDs. Thank you. Thank you. We keep him at 90 for that reason. Correct. Don't think I would have to put him in. I will, because he's over 1.5, but I don't like Drag. Actually, in the 4v4 is decent win rate. It's just one of those cleave styles. So I guess it's better than a Bastet. A cleave better than a Bastet, that's all there is to it. Gurkha, the unit that was gutted very hard. Actually, Livered still has pretty success with it, but I guess the Gurkha Seimei combination helps out a lot. Without that, it's just kind of garbage. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. Lulus we don't have to put in. Shizuka, the favorite unit of Stoic, which he really liked to see, but actually in SWC, I think I've seen Shizuka's only lose. Or like lose 75 to 80% of the time. I feel like the Shizuka nerf did hurt her pretty hard, to where she only became a unit I have to resist, or I have to proc out, and then I can shine. Without that, I'm kind of fucked. Still, she's definitely not bad. But I feel that Shizuka is, well, let's call her 85. I think she still has some decent value in there. But she's definitely hit. Like, I'm doubting between 80 and 85 on her. But let's call it an 80. 85, sorry. Next up is Tomoe. Oh man, this tier list is gonna get like more than 3 hours. Holy jeebus. Tomoe is a 47.69 on the win rate, 4.73 on the pick rate, 44 about same. I feel like Tomoe is also one of those units. You feel like she's gonna do a lot, but then she just doesn't really. Tomoe is 75 for me by best. Like, to be honest, I see a lot of people use Tomoe, but I never really feel her success too much. Like, it's very nice if you can get the combination of where you stun and you spread the stun and blah blah, everything goes great. But if you expect that to happen all the time, you're living in like fairyland, because that shit doesn't happen, and most of the time she doesn't do jack shit. That's my issue with that unit. Like, on paper, you would say that she would work so crazy good with the Gianna. Man, if you pair her with Gianna, you just get Racuni, Vert, and Juno, then you get fucked. Now we have the next unit, which is Gu. And Gu also is one of those units where you think if she despairs a lot, she's insanely good. If she doesn't, she's insanely shit. And there's no in-betweener on her. And I can't even find this to the top right. 5% on the pick rate and 47 on the win rate, both ways. Yeah, pretty much same thing. Same thing. If it works, crazy good. If it doesn't work, not great. And then she's not going to do anything. And her win rate did slightly improve compared to her last season, but I think her pick rate dropped and therefore her win rate improved because people are less spamming her. Let's look at Seimei. Actually, Seimei did take a good hit because of the S2 nerf. Because Seimei used to be like 52-53% win rate. But Seimei right now is around 50, which is actually pretty interesting. Like, I still think she's... Is she an 80 even? Yeah, she's definitely 80. Like, where she fits as a good counter, she definitely does fit and she will hard counter. But I thought her S2 didn't really matter too much, but apparently it did matter quite a bunch more than I expected. But Seimei gets an 80 for that. Let's look at Duman, and Duman is actually something that we did see quite a lot being used by Madrimdi mainly. And Duman is a very dangerous unit. In the 4v4, slightly worse than in the draft. But one of those units, like, if her S3 misses, it's real bad. Like, it's such a bad value to miss that skill. But if it lands, it's just a death sentence that is very hard to get rid of. And for that, Duman does get an 85 for me. Because it's just such a dangerous unit in the draft. Like, dropping in a Duman 5th pick, she still has that strip on the S2. And then landing that Curse of Death. I think that's very much an underrated unit if you're not using it. Then we go for the Onimushas, which we've seen a lot in SWC as well. Starting off with Kinky. Shizuka less than 95 or less than 90 because of her... Or would I one-up Shizuka? Would I one-up her? She is still one of the most picked units in the game, though. I do have to... Yeah, she's about same win rate as more and pick rate as more. I'll keep her at that. Like, she's kind of same as more. And this pick rate is lower, so I'm not gonna hire you. But I think she's a very strong unit. But Kinky, we're looking at a 13 pick rate on a 48 win rate. Does that higher in the 44? It's about the same. Somewhat surprised that the win rate's not higher of Kinky. I think Kinky is maybe also somewhat overdrafted. But I do feel like Kinky is very strong when picked right. Does so much damage. Definitely does need Vio. I don't like the Despair build. But Kinky gets an 80 for me. Next up we have Suiki, which we started seeing mainly actually as Kinky counters. And a few other counters to specific units. But definitely a unit that if you have a long drawn out fight, you should maybe pick up and give some good runes to. And I do value him less than Kinky. But it's definitely a unit you might potentially want to pick up because you have a lot of those fire units, the Racuni, the Juno, that you might actually want to start hitting with the Kinky. Or no, with a Kinky with a Suiki. But I'll give it 75 for now. We also have the Onmyouji, which used to be on the 100 tier. Definitely isn't in the 100 tier anymore. Wow. 5% on the win rate, 48.73 on the... Or the win rate is 48.73. Pick rate 5. In the 4v4 it goes up to a 50-50 on the win rate. It used to be like 55 and then 54 or something. Like I had a tier list where it was 100. And then people said like, oh, if my unit is gonna get nerfed because of this tier list, I'm gonna quit. And then the unit got nerfed and he replied to the tier list once again saying, I'm quitting. Once again, I do not have the power. Like me putting those units over there is just stating the obvious. It's not influencing the balance patch by anything, just letting you know. But I would say that Onmyouji, would I value it similar to Kinky right now? Win rate is slightly higher, pick rate is slightly lower. I do kind of feel that it's 80. Because it's... Yeah, I think they counter different things. But it's relatively easy to play around an Onmyouji. Whereas playing around a Kinky is somewhat harder. So I do feel like he's probably fitting an 80 as well. Which is somewhat sad to see because he was pretty high up. It was a cool unit. Next up, we have Nana. Probably not used as much anymore as well, but still always kind of has some value. Ooh, wow, win rate is actually close to 52. Pick rate is an 80% or an 8%. No longer the 55% win rate that she used to have, but I would say Nana's a solid 80 as well. Yeah, just simple, solid 80. Not too much to say about it. Coco and Kiki, I don't think that those are actually used in RTA. And nope. And I'm pretty sure this one not as well. Nope. Okay, continuing on with Miles. Everyone's most annoying unit compared, or not compared, next to the red. No, Suiki, I already played Suiki, man. Focus, focus. Miles is 20 on the pick rate, 48 on the win rate. Which is a super annoying unit, only actually hard counted by Leo. Is very good with the red and doesn't resemble the highest of win rates, but definitely does fit that 87.5. Because once again, the red Miles combination is almost never bad to draft. So it just gets pretty high value from those two. And it just does a lot of damage. Plus, this thing combined with this or this makes him shine very well. And for the one that was just asking, Suiki is on the 75 for me. Because those two fit more specific matches, whereas this one only fits very specific matches. We go on with John. I'm not sure if Mr. John actually has enough pick rate to be in. I don't actually think so. Nope, he does not. I don't think the unit is bad though. Next on, Oliver. It's still meta. Oliver win rate is actually the lowest it's ever been though. And that's an interesting point to make because Oliver win rate used to be like, I think we've seen Oliver win rate on like 54, 53, down to 51. Now we're at 49. And 49 for a unit that's picked that much is definitely still good. Because that is pretty much, it's still higher than the other units that are also often picked. And then starting from Juno, it starts tipping over that it is not. But that is still definitely a good unit. And Oliver definitely was at like 100 tier before. Definitely is not right now. But I would still say Oliver is a clear 90. Like there's no doubt that Oliver is not a 90. And I wouldn't say... Would I say that Oliver is higher than 90? No, I don't think so. Would I? No, I feel like a lot of drafts these days where Oliver can shine, he doesn't do anything, he gets controlled and he just gets fucked up. Oliver still has the annoying factor. And annoying factor makes him feel good. But it's just because it's annoying to play against a unit doesn't make him good. Like him winning makes him good. But yeah, he's just annoying. That's the main thing. Like they remove the damage. They never, like, if they nerf Oliver's annoying mechanic of cycling and controlling your whole fucking team, I have way more peace with that than just gutting his damage. Because gutting his damage doesn't do anything to that annoying factor. Cigar next to Oliver, CP feels pretty weird. While the win rate that is that insanely high, I kind of have to respect it, even though it's LD boosted. Yeah, his win rate is so LD boosted, I think I might lower him one down. Yeah, I do think so. His win rate feels way too LD boosted. Isn't every unit LD boosted if you check? Some are, some aren't, but Cigar was like 90%. Like if we check, for example, Oliver, let's see what Oliver is godlike with. Let's see how LD boosted that is. This is not, this is not, is not, is not. So 4 out of 10. That's better than 1 out of 10, right? And if we check that, for example, more. 2 out of 10. 3 out of 10. Check Cigar again. This tier list is already getting way too fucking long doing all of these things. 1 out of... Well, this one barely counts. Well, okay, let's check this one though. Yeah, also what this one is like a lot of double LD value. Okay, Cigar is maybe slightly boosted because of fucking Wedjat. Isn't everyone fucking boosted because of Wedjat? Holy shit. Oh, people are saying like I shouldn't put Wedjat this high. Look at this shit, man. Okay, I'm gonna put Cigar at 87.5. Oliver is 90. Daniel, that someone decided to first pick and therefore ruin my prediction. No, that's too mean. But no, don't first pick Daniel, man. I don't recommend it. Win rate is actually not that bad. I do think Daniel does have potential in the right draft. 53 and 50, or 52 and 53 on the win rate. 1.5 on the pick rate. 1.5 on the pick rate is not that high though. So I'm gonna put you 75 at best. Mainly because I would like to see what happens when there's more pick rate. Because this is probably like very specific comp boosted as well, so. And there's one guy pretty much having all of the picks with that unit. So he just hella spams that unit. So I think it can be decent. It does a decent amount of damage, but I don't think it's very great. Then we have Jackson. And Jackson is one of those units that a lot of people think do a lot of stuff, but actually he doesn't. And in the 4v4 is actually pretty high up, so you do have to ban him most of the time. But that's Jackson only counters good if you have at least 2 units on the field that Jackson is supposed to counter. If you only have 1 unit on the field that Jackson is supposed to counter, Jackson doesn't do that well. And I think I'm gonna make an in-between tier here as well. Oh, whoops, that was not the idea, this is the idea. And I think I'm going to make a row above. And this is going to be some management over here. Let's make it the green color as well. And I do feel that you are in between. Okay, I don't think any of those are going down, but who of those are going up? Maybe none. No, I think all of them actually kind of fit where they are. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep you here, solo. Eshir, what was Eshir's win rate? Eshir is a fair point. Theor, no, win rate too low. Diana, Diana does have value. FIFA, maybe FIFA. It's kind of Ragdoll boosted, isn't it? Ragdoll Leo boosted. Well, you can just Leo with it, so. But win rate's not that bad. Okay, let's just keep it as is for now. We're going on with the Robos. Chimera, I don't like that much. Overall low win rate, low pick rate, and kind of nerf because of Shizuka nerf. Robo, Wind Robo, 10%, 10.66 on the pick rate, and a 49.11 on the win. Does that go up? Actually goes slightly down, but Robo does definitely has good value. Do we go 85 on a Robo or do we go 80 on a Robo? I think those are the two fair places for Robo. I think 80 because he does have the struggle with Vertihiles and that kind of stuff. Like, it's kind of a hard, like, getting more and more hard fire meta with like Juno, Renuki, and that kind of shit. He does struggle into those units, so I think 80 is fair for that reason. Don't think I have to put the Fire Robo in, most likely it's under the pick rate. Yep, for sure. Dark Robo definitely is in. And Dark Robo is a little bit higher. And therefore Dark Robo is just one tier higher. Simply, it's, yeah, not too much to say about. It's just slightly better. That's all there is to it. Mostly also like picked on this pair and used a little bit less. But definitely in there. I have to put Alaya in. Guys, did you ever expect me to make a tier list where I put Alaya in? 69 on the picks. 69 picks, nice. But since I said... Wait, why is the win rate actually... Wait, the ban potential is that high? What the fuck, man? Obaba boosted... this is not even boosted. It's just because it was used in SWC. Alaya's for me about here. Okay, can we go for this? Dark Robo better than Gianna, I agree. Arguably it is. Arguably it actually is. Let's see. Let's see. Nora. Is Nora used in SWC? I don't think so. It's not used here enough. Nice. Don't have to place. Riley, though, I definitely do have to place because that's for sure a unit that's used a lot. 51 win rate on Riley. Holy shit. 14 on the pick. Wow, Riley is actually insane. Wait, Isabel on the tier list? I don't have Isabel on here. That's actually true. But Isabel was also the weakest attempt ever. Sorry. The unit didn't do jack shit. But wow, that's... Riley is 14 win rate on 51 pick. Damn. That's at least 85. Maybe I should even value it higher. I don't even have Riley ruined in my box. I'm gonna put it 85. Yeah. Yeah, technically it's better than Abellio. Like, it has higher pick rate than Abellio by quite a decent, substantial amount. I have to put Riley higher. Yeah, we did see a lot in SWC as well. Yeah, because of, like, I would like to put her one lower. But the main reason I put her one higher is because we've seen it that much in SWC and high value in SWC. So for that reason, I would say that Riley is fitting up there. These units we didn't see. Carlos is most likely not used enough. Let's give a quick peek. Not used enough. We saw Dominic, and Dominic for some reason has like an insane win rate. Like Dominic 55 win rate. Who the hell and what the hell is boosting Dominic's win rate? Ella was in SWC, that one doesn't count. Okay, I'll place Ella in. Ella did absolutely nothing. That was very simple. But who the hell is boosting Dominic, though? 60 win rate, that's not even that much. Dom OP? For 55 win rate OP? I don't know. Maya's placed by Tutu, he didn't place it yet, so it doesn't count. But Dominic, I don't know. Well, it has the pick rate to be placed, but I don't really feel Dominic is much better than this. Like tops. Like even if you put Dominic into good runes, there's going to be... I'm not gonna listen to the win rate in this case. I'm just going to by own feeling on this one, and I feel like Dominic is not that great. I'm gonna put it at 77.5. Yeah, the nerf on Dominic was really huge. It's too bad though. I kind of like Dominic. I used Dominic SWC last year quite some. Or would I put it 80 for the win rate? No, I'm gonna put it 77.5 because I don't trust it that it's not boosted by 1 or 2 players that much. It's your tier list, do what you want. I always do what I want, but I still kind of think once and twice. Continuing on with Maximilian. This is for sure the lengthiest tier list ever. 50 on the win rate, 51 on the 4v4, 51.5. Pick rate is 7.1. It's definitely not bad. It's also not crazy good. It's definitely a 1 down of a Nefties, or like a few down of a Nefties. I do think that Maximilian needs a specific comp to shine as well, so Maximilian gets 80 for me. Any Benedict games? I don't think so. I can check it, but I don't have him listed in here, pretty sure. But yeah, Maximilian is 80 for me. The main issue that Maximilian lacks compared to Nefties is the heal block. And the heal block is such a substantial factor where Maximilian can only be drafted with a Maximilian Cleave. Without Maximilian Cleave, like the full combo, Maximilian sucks. And Nefties can be cleave with, or it can be used with a lot of things. So for that reason, a Maximilian is not that high of a value in my opinion. Let's see where we have a Benedict. Yeah, that's not gonna be placed. Carlos is not used as much as well. The cats are not used. These are all not used. I could double check Minato and Ren, but I'm pretty sure not used enough. And the Ren probably also not used enough. Never used. Awesome. How many times did Glorious use Shun? Glorious, stop inting. Glorious, stop inting. 38. Stop inting, Glorious. That's terrible. Okay, let's continue on with units that are less int. Sonya. Sonya's most likely on a very low win rate. Sonya is so hard to rune. Like, Sonya is good in the draft, but Sonya in the 4v4, it happens so often. Sonya S2 and didn't crit. Or didn't ignore. And Sonya S2 and just not enough damage. So Sonya gets a 70 for me by best. Just because of the rune investment you need to have on her where to make her shine. It's just very difficult. Let's see what Destiny does these days. Not enough pick rate. How about a Veronica? Veronica super hard nerfed and is still a 53.5. Well, let's say 53 win rate on a close to 10% pick rate. The unit is still insane. Like, even though that their sister got completely gutted for Veronica getting a nerf on the S2, she's still very freaking strong. I would say that, yeah, pretty much Tian Lang value. Like, this is where I would say a nerf was fair. Like, she's not super OP anymore to the extent where she's undealable with. But she's still OP enough that you value, like, hey, I have a good LD5 if you pull her. So I do think that a 95 is pretty fair for her. Totally. Which is a lot less than the 100 where she... Well, she came from 105, she was down to 100, and now she's 95. We continue on. Is Manon still used? I'm not really sure. I do not think so. Manon. Over yonder. Nope. Someone was asking for Audrey just to check the win rates. I don't think she is used, but just to check the win rates real quick. This is actually... What? I'm not sure. Wait, who's boosting that? Like 50 win rate for a unit like this? I totally expected worse. Okay, there's one guy just hella boosting it, I guess. Wait, True was using that? Dope. She's cracked. Wow, actually interesting. Well, she's not on 1.5, so I don't have to place her in, so I'm not going to. But she's actually better than expected. Like, that's actually a better win rate than I expected. Let's check about the dark version, because the dark version I have seen some more people use, and I kind of can see more potential in. It's actually less used. Wow. Interesting. Okay. Didn't expect. A unit we definitely did see being used, which was somewhat new for me to being seen in RTA as well as this unit. And that is Adriana, something like that. 51 on the 51.55 on the win rate. Pick rate is 0.77. It's not much, but did show some good use case in SWC, mainly because of the Oblivion on S2. Like, it's very often that you can apply that Oblivion. But to be honest, I don't really see her value all too much. Or would I see a 75 value on her? It is pretty interesting in specific comps where you do have a lot of value from the speed buff attack buff. Why is the demon so low? Because the demon was on like a 42% win rate. I'm not sure who fucked that up. I think the demon is one better than this though. But yeah, that's that. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna put her at 70 for now. No, actually, I think if more people use her, give good runes to her, I feel like she has a 75. Looking at SWC specifically, like how good she was used in SWC, I give her a 75 for that. These are... Oh, we have the Fire Cookie, of course. Fire Cookie is definitely something that is used. Definitely. How is that looking like? 5% on the pick, 48.5 on the win. In the 4v4, actually slightly dropping on win rate, but still pretty decent. I think she's good to the extent where she counters multiple units on the field. Then she becomes very good. But she needs to be drafted right to become good. So I give her 75 for the value of when she's drafted, she is good. But I feel like she's often not drafted right, where she's only countering one thing, for example. These are Guardian 3 win rates. Ziba. Oh, wait, we have one more. We have Infernal with a tier 1er. Appreciate it. Hi. We have one more. That's Elena. And Elena actually did very well in SWC. I was very surprised about this unit. Lest used it on Vio. Big V used it on Vio. The S2 potential that this unit has with an AoE strip that's not touching and the slow actually became a very strong unit. You do have to throw some crazy runes at it to overcome the low base speed on a Vio unit AoE stripper, but wow, a unit did actually show me some stuff that I'm like, that is pretty worthy, especially where you have so many units these days, which you can counter with S2 of Oblivion. It's just so nice. Because technically into like Junos, Racunis, all of that good stuff. Actually, no, I will throw her over here. And their pick rate doesn't resemble that much, but I think more people, like if you have this unit, definitely give it some love, because I think it's very good. Plus that S1 heal is actually a pretty fucking big heal. So you also have sustain with that right away if you bring a comp that's completely without sustain. Let's continue on with Zibala. Zibala. Win rate is 49, pick rate is 9. Win rate in the 4v4 is 48. It's somewhat understandable. I think she is feared more in the draft than outside of the draft. But I will give Zibala an 80. Or do I give Zibala 85? No, I give Zibala an 80. And the main reason is I feel like Zibala is nice, but I think she also has a lot of counters to her. In the end, she has a harder time of landing the freeze on or on wind units. Things like Racuni, Juno also pretty hard fuck her up. And she just has near to no damage on that S1 and S3. So she's just the support CC kind of unit that doesn't do all too much anything else besides. So still 80, don't get me wrong, very strong tier to be in. But I don't think she's like insanely OP. We do have to put in Xenazek. And Xenazek has to be put in because someone used it in SWC and it actually did win. But this is also one of those units. I think this is the unit that cleanses. It's kind of the Patar, but is she a better Patar or is she a worse Patar? Or he, I'm not even sure what it is. I think it's kind of Patar level in all honesty. It's super niche, it's super weird. Yeah, that. I barely know the name or what it does, but I gave it a 70 tier on that one. Continuing on with Light Ivor. Elena absorbs attack bar on S3. Absorb, so give to self absorb or just reduce? But let's continue on with a Light Ivor. Which was used by Big V on very fast speed set. It's pretty nice to see. Unit doesn't resemble that high of a win rate. I think it's nice in tournament play to surprise an opponent, or also in just a match it's surprise an opponent. But I don't think it's necessarily very strong of a unit, and win rate's also like 45% win rate, 46% win rate on 0-7 pick. I think it's more of like a surprise unit than an actual very good unit. But I hope Liver to show me the difference on that one. And I give it a 65 for now. We also seen the Light Ezio. from my man Zephyr. Such a nice match. Was one of the better matches. He needed slightly bit more damage on that unit. But is it a very good unit? No, I think you need crazy good runes to actually make this unit shine. But I definitely want to put it in and give it a 65. But if you can make it shine next to, especially next to a Zibala, if you are pairing it up with the idea that you're pretty sure that Zibala can boost your Ezio for 50%, and then you throw that S3 and it insta-kill stuff, that would be very nice, because you can one-shot things through passive. And I think the unit is more cool, and he has more of the cool rating than that he has of the good rating, to be honest. But yeah, unit is very dope. And then we have the Indras, which we didn't see much of. I do know that the Dark Indra is higher on the win rates and that kind of stuff. I'm gonna look at the Water and the Dark Indra, and the Asuras I already checked, they're barely used. So let's look at the Water one. I think it's pretty shit. Yeah, Water one is pretty shit in general, so I'm not even going to place it in. But the Dark one I did see has a crazy win rate, and to be honest, it kind of has the old Gurkha vibes. Oh, did you already check Cassandra's? Oh no, I missed Cassandra's. I'll check Cassandra's in a second. Thanks for mentioning that. Oh, and also I missed the other Ezio. Whoops, missing a bunch of units. Let's go over the other Ezio first, and then we go towards Cassandra's, and then we go for the Indra. So, Lionel, I think Zephyr used Lionel, and therefore I have to place him. Please do not use Lionel. 36% win rate. Like, if you really don't care about your ranking, use this unit. And the main reason is, you cannot guarantee where the attack buff goes on. You cannot even guarantee where your your attack bar boost goes on, because attack bars switch depending on who's in the field, and you do not control who's in the field. Your opponent controls who he bans. And therefore this unit's whole kit just becomes like... and becomes very shit. Icarus I already checked, but it's below like 1% pick rate. And I don't really like the unit, in all honesty. We have the Fire Cassandra. Fire Cassandra is a 51 on the win rate. In the 4v4 about the same. 7% on the pick rate. Very strong, very solid unit. Hard counted to a lot of things these days. I would say at least 80, or would I give her 85? No, I give her 80 because the main issue with her is the moment you did your S2 and you're low HP, you're very much bound to die in one hit too. So this is one of those units that you often trade the 1-for-1. Like, it's not that often that she kills something and then this unit doesn't die off pretty quickly herself as well. So that's kind of the downside on her. We also have the dark version, which is a lot of times used by Mr. Glorious himself, and he's pretty inting on it. 42 win rate, holy Jesus. Zex is using it a lot as well. But wow, someone's inting with this unit because the win rate is actually shit. What the fuck? Well, I tried it a few times myself as well. I don't think it is that bad, but she's not gonna be much better than a 65, in all honesty. And from there, we actually go into that Dark Indra that I was looking at earlier. Dark Indra over there. 55 win rate, 1% pick rate. I do really feel that this win rate is high, mainly because people are not used to playing against it. I did see the potential of the unit. I don't think it is bad, but I think the value of him being unknown is high, and he slightly has the old Gurkha value, slightly. So for that reason, I think mainly that people just don't know how to play against it, and it's just unknown. And to be honest, if I would play against it, I also don't really know. But I don't think the unit is that insanely good. I did do some play testing with him from someone that pulled him on day one, and I didn't feel that crazy good to me. Like, it felt like okay to decent, but I feel like he's also somewhat hard to fit in comps, and therefore he's kind of on Daniel level, which I do agree with. Like, isn't Daniel, Mi Yang that kind of level that if you have him in the right draft, he's probably going to do pretty well. And that's pretty much the whole 75 tier. Everything on 75 tier is if you have them on the right draft at the right moment, they're going to do pretty well. That makes a lot of sense, actually. So yeah, that is everything for the tier lists. And I think we have a pretty solid list, and we're pretty much closing in on 3 hours of the video as well. Which I think I'm not going to switch anything right now. I'm just going to leave it as is. And Thank you all for watching, if you're watching the video, and if you made it all the way through, let me know in the comments, because I really appreciate it as always.